Chapter 645. The few of them stepped forward and directly approached Tang Jing. They stared at him like a tiger watching its prey and jokingly said, "Country bumpkin, today I will let you know what you are worth." Beijing is not a place where a country bumpkin like you can do whatever you want. Tang Jing did not say anything, but his eyes became colder and colder. The people who greeted Tang Jing just now all surrounded him, wanting to help Tang Jing get out of this situation. Yan Luyun waved his hand and signaled them to leave. Since Tang Jing wanted to do it himself, then of course he could not go against his wishes. When other people saw this scene, they all turned their heads to look. When they saw Linger, they could not help but reveal a stunned expression. Then, he suddenly realized that this was another fight over a woman's favor. Many people, full of interest, held their wine glasses and looked forward to it. Without a doubt, this kind of behavior was a kind of spice, adding a little spice to the party. Therefore, the unrelated people did not stop them. Even the staff of the club did not come out to stop them. Lu Yanran was so excited that her little heart was beating rapidly, and her face also showed a bit of excitement. She stared without blinking, and her heart was even filled with bad intentions. Wait a moment, Tang Linger will be taken away by these rich young masters in front of everyone's eyes. She must take a picture of this moment and let the majority of the netizens see her true face. Hee, at that time the evidence will be conclusive and she will not be able to make a comeback. Then her fairy sister's position will be even more unbreakable. Sigh, if the heavens want to punish you, you can go against it. Yan Luyun secretly sighed and did not say anything more. Tang Zhang's eyes flashed, and stared at the person who just stretched out his evil claws, and said, "Just now you were the one who made the first move, right hand?" F***ck, I was the one who made the first move, I still want to make the first move. The other person immediately cursed. These young masters all had a few moves of their own, and they were usually taught by famous teachers. However, their aptitudes varied, and they didn't practice hard. Therefore, they could only scare ordinary people. When they met a master like Tang Jing, they weren't even fit to carry his shoes. But they didn't know the difference between them. After the man cursed, he kicked Tang Zhang's crotch with his long leg. Not only did the other party know to strike first to gain the upper hand, they were also not afraid of anything. Thus, the moment they made a move, they were ruthless and insidious. Hiss! Many people gasped as if they could see the scene where Tang Zhang's little brother was kicked and fell to the ground, gasping in pain. However, Tang Jing did not move. Just as the kick was about to hit him, it stopped steadily in midair. Ha! Everyone looked at this scene in shock. What was going on? Tang Zhang's hand had already reached out and grabbed the other's right wrist. Caw caw caw. A series of bone-cracking sounds rang out as the other party's arm was twisted into a fried dough twist at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ah! A blood-curdling scream resounded through the night sky. The leg that had kicked out hung limply, without the slightest bit of aggression. The others didn't see how Tang Jing made his move. Everything happened too fast. In a flash, the situation of the battle had a huge reversal. When the other young masters saw this, they looked at each other and showed their ferocity. They roared, "Country bumpkin, you dare to make a move. You're courting death." The few of them immediately attacked Tang Jing at the same time, punching and kicking together, all of them landing on Tang Zhang's body. Tang Zhang let go of the broken arm. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He still didn't move, but his hands moved quickly, leaving only after images. The punches and feet that were attacking immediately made a series of crisp bone-cracking sounds. Although it was just a simple punch, the strength was surprisingly strong. His genuine chi burst out and rushed directly into the other party's punches and feet, shattering the bones. Screams of agony rose and fell one after another, causing one's hair to stand on end in the night sky. Many people's faces suddenly changed as they looked at Tang Jing in horror. This young man was too powerful. He had severely injured his opponents so easily. This kind of strength and calm attitude was definitely not simple. This person was definitely not an ordinary person. Many people were a little curious. Who was this person that dared to deal with so many young masters so unscrupulously? The forces represented by the families behind these people were not simple. They were afraid that this person would suffer a big loss in the future. You dare to hurt us? The young masters covered their arms or legs and pointed at Tang Jing in disbelief. The veins on their faces were bulging and they looked fierce. I want you to understand that no one in this world can have any ideas about Ling Er. Otherwise, I will be very angry and the consequences will be very serious. Tang Jing said resolutely and murderously. The young masters were not frightened. Instead, they became angry and hysterically shouted, "Do you know what you've done? I want you to die without a burial monk. Yes, no matter who you are dead for sure. Just who are you, brat?" Tang Jing looked around and found that many people had the same question in their eyes. Since today was to kill a chicken to warn the monkeys, then of course he had to announce his name. Thus, he stuck out his chest and lightly said, "Remember, I will not change my name, I will not change my surname. My surname is Tang Jing. Tang Jing." A few people immediately imprinted this name deep in their hearts, but some people reacted quickly. They opened their eyes wide and exclaimed, "You are Tang Jing." It was clear that Tang Jing's name was very famous in the capital. Although they had never seen him in person, they knew immediately. "So it's you." The flames of hatred in their eyes became more and more intense. Although their hearts were gradually filled with fear, they did not reveal it in front of everyone. "It's me." Tang Jing walked step by step towards the culprit who had fallen to the ground, the person who had extended his claws. "What are you doing? If you dare to extend your hand, then it won't be as simple as crippling your arm." Tang Jing coldly said. "You. Let me tell you, if you dare to do anything to me, young Master Song will not let you go." The other person was so scared that he crawled back, but he did not forget to threaten him. "Young Master Song, Song you. Yes, if you know then hurry up and scram. Otherwise, when young Master Song comes, you won't be able to escape." The other person seemed to have found a trace of confidence as he threatened. "Hang, even if Song Yu was here, in front of him, you can forget about living." Tang Jing said with killing intent. He really wanted to kill, so killing this person was not unjust. Since he dared to be so unrestrained in this place, then in other places, in front of ordinary people, wouldn't he be unbridled? Therefore, there must have been ordinary people who had suffered at his hands, and even ordinary girls who had been bullied by him. Since it was like this, then he deserved to die. Moreover, if he wanted to leave a deep enough impression in these people's hearts, then blood and life were the best medium. When the other person heard this, he was so scared that he was dumbstruck, and asked in disbelief, "You want to kill me?" He never expected that when he brought up Song Yu, not only did it not scare the other person, but it also made the other person determined to kill him. The other people also did not expect this scene, and could not help but be shocked. This kind of ruthless person was too rare. Many people secretly glanced at Linger, and then quickly looked away. This was a rose with thorns, and the thorns were stained with poison, so it was absolutely not to be touched. Lu Yanran was already dumbstruck, her eyeballs almost falling to the ground. She was originally waiting to watch a good show. But this show was too wonderful, so wonderful that it made it hard for people to accept. Tang Jing fought several people alone, and unexpectedly won without any effort. Whether it was skill or aura, he crushed these hedonistic young masters into dregs. What's going on? Isn't he ordinary balance, that kind of country bumpkin from a small place? How can he be so arrogant and domineering? Lu Yanran's brain was not enough to understand. So he is Tang Jing. Godfather suddenly sighed softly. Lu Yanran seemed to be grasping at a life-saving straw, and asked, Godfather, what's wrong with him being Tang Jing? You don't know Tang Jing. Lu Yanran was at a loss, and said in a daze, this name sounds familiar, I seem to have heard it somewhere. A while ago, Princess Anne's matter was spread like wildfire, isn't he the main character? Godfather reminded. Of course, he did not finish, especially the matter between Tang Jing, the Chu family, and the Song family. These things were only known by people in the circle, and stars like Lu Yanran did not know. That mysterious knight is him. Lu Yanran suddenly realized, but in an instant, she felt that it was even more inconceivable. All of this seemed even more unreal. How could he be Princess Anne's mysterious knight? Then if these people go up against him, wouldn't they have no chance of winning? Lu Yanran muttered dejectedly. That may not be the case, too much is easy to break, this person is decisive in killing, if he really kills that person, then the other party's family will definitely not let it go, the Song family may come forward. Godfather analyzed. Lu Yanran was overjoyed, like a person in despair who had suddenly grasped the life-saving straw. Then wouldn't he be finished? Godfather smiled mysteriously, but did not comment. Lu Yanran bit her lips, and silently hoped in her heart, the Song family must act as soon as possible and get rid of this Tang Jing, then Linger will have no backing, and naturally will not be a threat. Yan Luyun sighed, not surprised at all, he had already seen Tang Zhang's killing intent, so he did not try to persuade him. That person's head drooped, still feeling like everything was a dream, and asked again in fear, you really want to kill me? Tang Zhang looked at him with a serious expression and said, I don't like to repeat what I said. After saying that, he grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up high. Hurry up and let me go, I don't want to die. He could finally confirm that Tang Jing really wanted to kill him, and was definitely not just trying to scare him. His whole body went limp, and he did not even have the strength to resist. Tang Jing directly dragged him to the railing, and the night wind blew, causing people to shiver uncontrollably. Everyone had the same thought in their mind, Tang Jing was going to throw him off the rooftop. If he fell from a height of hundreds of meters, he would definitely be smashed to pieces. Chapter 646. The person involved was clearly aware of Tang Zhang's intentions. His face was as white as a sheet of paper, softening into a puddle of mud, leaving behind a wet trail. He was scared to the point of pissing himself. Someone pointed at the trail and exclaimed. Suddenly, the crowd burst into laughter. The other young masters were so scared that they forgot to help their companions. They were dumbstruck as they watched this scene. Whoosh! Tang Jing casually waved his hand and the person in his hand drew an arc in the air, crossing the railing, leaving half of his body hanging hundreds of meters in the air. The person involved did not know where his strength came from, but he finally let out a heart-wrenching scream. He kept struggling, trying to break free from Tang Zhang's control. You want me to let go, right? Then I'll help you. Tang Jing coldly said. The person looked down at the 100 meters in the air and screamed with a pale face, Don't let go, please let me go, I won't dare to have any improper thoughts towards Tang Linger, I am a beast, I am a fart, please let me go. He begged for mercy with tears and snot running down his face. Where did your awe-inspiring aura go? I have eyes but can't see, you are great, let me go, woo woo woo. As he said this, he actually burst into tears. But you have offended Linger, you deserve to die. Tang Zhang's fingers slowly loosened. When other people saw this scene, many of the women covered their eyes, as if their hearts were about to jump out of their throats. Young Master Tang, please have mercy. Suddenly, a person quickly walked out. Everyone hurriedly turned their heads to look, only to see Ji Wuxiang anxiously rushing over. He apologetically said, "Young Master Tang, Miss Tang encountered this kind of thing at my place. I cannot absolve myself of the blame. Chief Ji, this is a grudge between me and him, it has nothing to do with you." Tang Jing temporarily stopped his actions. "Young Master Tang is magnanimous, this Ji can't thank you enough. This person is just a small fry, killing him would simply dirty young Master Tang's hands. If young Master Tang trusts me and hands him over to me, I will definitely give young Master Tang and young Miss Tang an explanation," Ji Wuxiang said with certainty. Tang Zhang's eyes flickered a few times. Just now, Ji Wuxiang was very respectful to him and even gave him a business card that would not be exchanged for money. This was not a small favor. Furthermore, this was his territory. If he were to embarrass him in front of so many people, his prestige would definitely be affected. Director Ji, Tang Jun, clearly distinguish between gratitude and grudges. If others respect me, I will respect them tenfold. After a slight pause, Tang Jing swept his gaze over the crowd. His sharp gaze was like a knife that could cut through hair, causing people's hearts to palpitate in fear. Director Ji is a straightforward person. Since that is the case, then I will trust you and hand him over to you. Tang Jing casually threw the person in his hand to Ji Wuxiang's feet. The other party had just escaped from the gates of hell and was overjoyed. Ignoring the pain in his body, he hurriedly thanked Ji Wuxiang. "Many thanks to Director Ji for saving my life. My family and I will not forget your kindness." Ji Wuxiang did not even look at him as he coldly said, "Harassing my guests in my club. Do you really think that I, Ji Wuxiang, am easy to bully? Someone come, break his remaining arm and 2 legs and throw him out of this building. Also, throw all the other people out and cancel their membership. In addition, tell their families that they must take out a sincere apology to young Miss Tang. Otherwise, I, Ji Wuxiang, will personally come and reason with them." These words were resolute and decisive, like a heavy hammer that struck everyone's hearts. Everyone stared dumbfoundedly at Ji Wuxiang. No one would have thought that Ji Wuxiang would propose such a severe punishment. Although that person did not die, he would lose a layer of skin. Was Tang Jing so important that Ji Wuxiang did not hesitate to offend so many families for him? As soon as his voice fell, several security guards jumped out and moved like lightning. With a few cracking sounds, his other arm and 2 legs were safely twisted. Even if they were reattached in the future, they would still be crippled. Hiss! Many people sucked in a breath of cold air as they looked at Tang Jing with complicated gazes. That person directly fainted from the pain and was dragged down the rooftop like a dead dog with the others. "Young Master Tang, are you satisfied?" Ji Wuxiang asked. "Thank you President Ji for upholding justice." Tang Jing gently nodded his head. Ji Wuxiang immediately revealed a smile, clapped his hands and said, "Everyone, those guys ruined everyone's mood. I will punish myself with a cup of wine as an apology to everyone." Saying that, he took a cup of wine from the waiter's tray and drank it in one gulp. When the others saw this, they all raised their glasses and smiled, as if nothing had happened. "Young Master Tang, let's talk in private," Ji Wuxiang said in a low voice. When they came to the edge of the rooftop, many people secretly looked in their direction. This time, their eyes were not fixed on Linger, but completely focused on Tang Jing. Without a doubt, at this moment, Tang Zheng's light overshadowed Linger's. Everyone was trying to guess what they were talking about. Lu Yanran was depressed like a defeated general. She bit her lips and secretly looked in anger and fear. Originally, she thought that the families behind those rich playboys would deal with Tang Jing, but now it seemed that it was just wishful thinking. Ji Wuxiang's tough attitude made those people's families not dare to act rashly. Not only did they not dare to act rashly, but they also had to apologize to Tang Linger and beg for forgiveness. Lu Yanran had been in the industry for so many years, facing these big families and rich people, she had always been trembling with fear. She always had a smile on her face, afraid that she would offend them. But this time, Tang Linger completely defeated her. Not only was Tang Linger not afraid of these rich people, but she also made them apologize to her. Lu Yanran felt that this world was too crazy. This was beyond her understanding. She had never expected herself to be able to reach this step. But what did she do to be able to do this? She subconsciously looked at Tang Jing beside Tang Linger. Could it be him? But how could it be? She didn't see how much ability this Tang Jing had, except that he had a bad temper and had a little scandal with Princess N. But these were not enough to make the rich people afraid, let alone make Ji Wuxiang be so polite. She didn't have time to think about the cause and effect, when her godfather turned his head and looked at her seriously. He warned, "Don't provoke that Tang Linger in the future." Ah! Lu Yanran was stunned. Her godfather, who was incompetent in her eyes, was actually afraid of Tang Jing. "Don't treat my words as wind passing through your ears. Otherwise, if you get into trouble, don't blame me for not recognizing you and not caring about you." Her godfather continued to sternly warn her. "Godfather." Lu Yanran hurriedly stuck her huge chest to him and said coquettishly, "But that Tang Ling is too despicable. She stole my fairy sister's title. Do you think I should just tolerate it?" "Humph, even if you can't endure it, you have to endure it." Lu Yanran's eyes flashed. She bit her lips and looked wronged and indignant. Her godfather stared at her for a long time and sighed in his heart. It seemed that he had to get rid of her as soon as possible. With his understanding of her, of course he knew that she didn't take his warning to heart. Since that was the case, then she was a ticking time bomb. Sooner or later she would provoke Tang Linger and bring him trouble. Moreover, he was tired of playing with her. It was time to get out of the situation. Lu Yanran didn't know that her reaction had brought about such serious consequences for herself. Her mind was constantly thinking about how to deal with Tang Linger secretly and protect her position and interests. Tang Zhang and the others gathered together with Ji Wuxiang. They were talking and laughing. The unhappiness from before was swept away. Ji Wuxiang took a sip of wine and said, "Young Master Tang, I heard that your company has already been established in the capital. You even invited the famous female hero Mu Hongyan to take charge. Congratulations. Manager Ji, you must be joking. I am just doing small things to earn some pocket money." Tang Zhang said modestly. "The younger generation will surpass us in time. When I was your age, I didn't know anything," Ji Wuxiang said with emotion. Tang Jing smiled. He didn't know if these words were true or false. If he really didn't know anything when he was in his 20s, and now he had such achievements, then in the next few decades, his rise would be too fast. It was comparable to the speed of a rocket. Manager Ji is too modest. Now that you have become famous, you don't know how many people envy you," Tang Jing said. Ji Wuxiang shook his head and said, You only saw my glory in front of others. You didn't see the bitterness behind me. Now this world is becoming more and more difficult to survive in. The changes are too great. I don't even recognize it anymore." Hearing the hidden meaning in his words, Tang Jing asked curiously, "Oh, why do you say that?" Yan Luyun also looked curiously at Ji Wuxiang. Towards this mysterious manager Ji, he was also filled with curiosity like Tang Jing. "Young Master Tang, you represent a new power. You have completely broken the world structure." Ji Wuxiang looked at him with a smile that wasn't a smile. Tang Zhang was slightly startled. He said blankly, "Do I have such great ability?" "Of course you do. After all, you are a cultivator. In the past, cultivators didn't amount to much. But ever since young Master Tang appeared, cultivators have been growing stronger step by step. They even have the tendency to suppress martial artists. Don't you think this is breaking the current structure of the world? When Tang Zheng heard the word cultivator, his heartstrings immediately tightened. He said calmly, Manager Ji is too serious. My strength is nothing. The several large families are stronger than me. How can I possibly break the world structure? No, you are underestimating yourself. The several large families are indeed powerful, but they have already fallen into a bottleneck. Young Master Yan, I wonder if my words are correct. Ji Wuxiang didn't have the slightest worry of offending the Yan family. He went straight to the point and asked. Yan Luyun didn't expect him to say these words. His face was filled with resentment and he was speechless for a moment. Ji Wuxiang smiled and continued to say, but young Master Tang, your development potential is enormous. There is no limit. In time, you will definitely surpass the several large families. At that time, who would dare say that cultivators are weak? Wouldn't the structure of the world completely change? Tang Zheng was speechless. Chapter 647. Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun looked at Ji Wuxiang at the same time. They did not know what basis he had for his assertion. However, there was no doubt that these words were really shocking. It set off stormy waves in their hearts. President Ji's words are exaggerated. After a long while, Tang Zheng shook his head. Even he could not make such an assertion. It even seemed a little arbitrary. Yan Luyun's lips were tightly shut. He did not say a word. Ji Wuxiang's words were definitely not targeted. Did he really believe what he said, or did he have a deeper meaning? Ji Wuxiang heard this, smiled and said, then we'll see in the future. As soon as he finished speaking, he revealed a trace of a mysterious smile before he bid farewell and left, leaving the two of them dumbstruck on the spot. After a long time, the two looked at each other. Tang Zheng asked, Young Master Yan, what do you think his words are for? Yan Luyun shook his head blankly, I don't know, but there is no doubt that he thinks highly of you. Think highly of me. I'm alone and weak. How can I be a match for your big families? Tang Zheng said self-deprecatingly. You can't say it like that. President Ji is right about one thing. The big family's development potential has been overdrawn. Now they are like a stumbling elephant. It is not easy to move forward. And your rise is indeed much faster than ours. Yan Luyun said with certainty. Tang Zheng was not excited at all. Instead, he sighed and said, This President Ji is really mysterious. The two still could not understand Ji Wuxiang's intention. He looked at problems so sharply. No wonder he could have such strength. Brother, I see Lu Yanran over there. Suddenly, Linger pulled Tang Zheng's clothes and said. Then let's go and meet her. Tang Zheng's eyes were cold. It was really like wearing out iron shoes in vain. When Yan Luyun heard this, his eyes immediately locked onto Lu Yanran. He frowned and asked curiously, She has a grudge with you? New enmity and old enmity, this isn't a small matter. Tang Zheng smiled coldly. Yan Luyun coldly snorted and said, She really doesn't know what's good for her. She's just a small star, yet she dares to go against young Master Tang. The three of them immediately walked towards Lu Yanran. Lu Yanran was in a daze and suddenly saw the three of them walking towards her. She was startled. Although she didn't completely admit defeat in her heart, she was still in awe of Tang Zheng. After all, Tang Zheng's series of actions just now had frightened many people. Lu Yanran wanted to avoid the danger for the time being, but she found that there was no way to retreat. Even her godfather had the intention to retreat. However, Tang Zheng and the other two had already blocked their path of retreat and were staring coldly at the two of them. Lu Yanran's face was pale. She didn't completely admit defeat in her heart, but facing Tang Jing and the others face to face, she couldn't help but tremble in fear. "Hello, young Master Yan." Lu Yanran's godfather resentfully greeted Yan Luyun and then nodded towards Tang Jing and Tang Linger. Yan Luyun frowned and coldly said, "Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang, I trust you have been well since we last met." This sentence was obviously filled with strong dissatisfaction. As a veteran who had been in the official circle for decades, how could he not understand? Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang's face slightly changed and said, "Young Master Yan, I have nothing to do with Lu Yanran." "Young Master Yan, please don't misunderstand." Then he flatteringly smiled at Tang Jing and said, "It's really an honor to be able to meet young Master Tang today." Lu Yanran could hardly believe her ears. She stared at her godfather, dumbfounded. This godfather, who was omnipotent in her eyes, actually sold her out. Moreover, he sold her out cleanly, without leaving a single trace. Yan Luyun was also shocked by the other party's shamelessness. After being stunned for a while, he looked at Tang Jing and explained, "He is a deputy bureau chief of the State Administration of Radio, Film and Television." The State Administration of Radio, Film and Television. Tang Jing suddenly understood. Wasn't this the largest official organization that managed the entertainment industry? No wonder others said that Lu Yanran had a powerful backer. It turned out that she had the support of a deputy bureau chief. As long as Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang said a word, no one would dare to offend Lu Yanran. No wonder she was so popular and invincible. However, looking at the other party's attitude, it seemed that the powerful backer in the eyes of ordinary people didn't have much capital to be arrogant in front of Yan Luyun, so he still softened. Suddenly, Tang Jing was more relieved. It seemed that there was no need for Lu Yanran to have a good life in the future. Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang's words were almost a death sentence for Lu Yanran. But Tang Jing didn't feel that she was pitiful. She only had herself to blame. If she hadn't stirred up trouble, how could she have ended up in such a situation? Tang Jing didn't pay attention to the deputy bureau chief, who was strong in appearance but weak in reality. He stared straight at Lu Yanran and said, "I already know that you hired the Internet Water Army to smear Linger. You have to take responsibility for what you did. What do you want?" Lu Yanran was so scared that she took a step back. Her face was ashen as she stuttered and asked, "Tell the truth to the media and publicly apologize to Linger." Tang Jing didn't want to be ruthless, especially since the other party was a woman. Publicly apologize. Lu Yanran looked like she had seen a ghost. The corners of her mouth couldn't help but twitch. "Can't I?" Tang Zhang's expression was cold as he asked. "Sure, there definitely won't be a problem." Before Lu Yanran could answer, Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang had already agreed. "Young Master Tang is really magnanimous. She will definitely publicly apologize to Miss Tang." "You? When did I agree?" Lu Yanran was so angry that she questioned. "You don't have the right to speak here." Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang's face darkened. He suddenly turned hostile and didn't recognize her at all. His expression was as cold as 1,000-year-old ice. Lu Yanran was so angry that she almost fainted. Looking at the black-faced godfather, she hesitated for a long time. In the end, she didn't swallow the words in her throat and shouted, "You're talking nonsense. You're so shameless. I've served you for so many years and endured your perverted desires. How could you treat me like this? You've gone too far." Swish. This question immediately attracted the attention of the others. They thought to themselves, "Tonight is really brilliant." So many wonderful shows were put on one after another. Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang, who looked strong on the outside but weak on the inside, actually had perverted hobbies. "Hey, you really can't judge a book by its cover." There was a burst of laughter in the crowd, which made Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang's face burn as if it was being roasted by fire. He flew into a rage and suddenly waved his fat palm. Slap! This slap was so loud that it directly made half of Lu Yanran's face swollen. Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang roared angrily, "You bitch, how dare you talk nonsense? I'll break your mouth. Tell you, you're completely finished." Lu Yanran was completely stunned. She blankly covered her face and didn't know what to do. "Get out of here. This is not a place for you." Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang regretted it very much. He was so soft-hearted that he didn't resist her 18 kinds of martial arts in bed. He even agreed to take her to the club after coaxing and pestering. He was really unlucky to have a relationship with Lu Yanran, this crazy woman. Lu Yanran didn't respond. Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang didn't want to see her anymore. He was afraid that she would do something crazy again and irritate Tang Zhang and the others. So he pushed her forward with both hands. Lu Yanran staggered to the door of the club and finally fell at the door in front of everyone. The others didn't have the slightest reaction or pity. The upper-class society was so cruel. You may be high and mighty in the last moment, but you may become a prisoner in the next second. Lu Yanran vividly demonstrated this point. Many stars present who had come here with great difficulty were vigilant. They looked at Tang Zhang and the others and firmly imprinted the faces of these three people in their hearts, warning themselves not to provoke them in the future. There was no doubt that Tang Linger's identity in these people's minds rose. Many stars had secretly made up their minds to have a good relationship with her in the future, such as asking her to cooperate with them in shooting movies or recording albums. Tang Linger didn't know that she had gained so many benefits. She only looked at Lu Yanran calmly without any pity or satisfaction. She didn't have much good or bad feelings towards Lu Yanran. Lu Yanran's actions were just a small episode to her. The gap between the two was too big. It was like the gap between an eagle and a chick. Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang looked at Tang Zhang in fear, wondering if he was satisfied with this decision. Tang Zhang couldn't say that he was satisfied. He just lost interest. He was originally angry, but when he saw Lu Yanran's miserable appearance, his anger disappeared completely. This woman's strength was too weak compared to his. He seemed a little useless by making such a big fuss. So he didn't care about Lu Yanran's ending. He said dispiritedly, "Master Yan, let's go." Master Yan seemed to have figured out Tang Zhang's thoughts, but he didn't forget to glare at Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang and said, "You're on your own." After that, the three of them walked towards the door together. They didn't even look at Lu Yanran, who had fallen to the ground. The three of them went downstairs and breathed a sigh of relief. Tang Zhang said, "I have achieved my goal today. Thank you, Master Yan. Master Tang is too polite. Has your aunt Yan Qingyi returned to the capital? How is she?" Tang Zhang asked casually. Yan Luyun was slightly startled. He didn't know why he would ask about his aunt. He said, "Aunt just returned to the capital a while ago. Everything is fine. Please say hello to her for me." Tang Zhang said, remembering his experience with the Tree of Life. Yan Luyun was even more confused. He had never heard of his aunt and Tang Zhang interacting. Why did it sound like they were very familiar with each other? "I will definitely bring it." Yan Luyun still promised. The two sides said goodbye. Tang Zhang took Ling and disappeared into the night. Yan Luyun watched the two disappear with a complicated expression. He then drove home. As soon as he entered the house, he couldn't wait to go to his grandfather's room. He found that his aunt was also there. The two seemed to be discussing something. Since his aunt returned from home some time ago, she had been secretly discussing with his grandfather. No one else knew what they were talking about. Chapter 648. Yan Padian and Yan Qingyi stopped their conversation at the same time, looked at Yan Luyun and asked, "What's the matter?" "Grandfather, I went to see Tang Jing today. He asked me to send his regards to his aunt," Yan Luyun said. Yan Padian nodded his head in gratification. "You are getting closer and closer to him. This is indeed a good thing. Grandfather, from the looks of it, he seems to be very familiar with aunt," Yan Luyun asked suspiciously. Yan Potion's thick white eyebrows furrowed, but Yan Qingyi took the lead and said without batting an eyelid, "I met him a while ago, and once again witnessed his extraordinariness." Seeing that his aunt did not say anything, Yan Luyun did not ask further, and said, "Tonight, we met Ji Wuxiang, and his attitude towards Tang Jing was extremely strange. He attached great importance to him, and even asserted that the development potential of our great families was not as good as Tang Jing's. In the future, he would surpass us, and even the structure of this world would change because of him." To be honest, as someone who was a few years older than Tang Jing, Yan Luyun was very shocked by these words, and even envied Tang Jing's achievements. All these years, he had been cautious and conscientious in order to win the title of the head of the 4 young masters of the capital. However, Tang Jing's rocket-like rise made his achievements pale in comparison. Ji Wuxiang. Yan Potion's eyelids twitched, his expression became especially serious, and he asked, "Did he really say that?" Grandson heard it with his own ears. "It's absolutely true." Yan Luyun nodded firmly. Yan Padian pondered for a long time, then sighed faintly and said, "Since he said so, I'm afraid it will really become a reality." "Ah." Yan Qingyi and Yan Luyun were both shocked. They never thought that the old man would be so certain of Ji Wuxiang. "Grandpa, is this true?" Yan Luyun asked in disbelief. Yan Padian nodded his head. Since it came from his mouth, then it should be close to the truth. In terms of looking at people and predicting the situation, no one can surpass him. Hiss. The two of them sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. This kind of evaluation was too high, especially when it came from Yan Potion's mouth. There was no doubt about it. "Father, is Ji Wuxiang really worthy of such an evaluation? Who is he?" Yan Qingyi couldn't help but ask. "His origins are too mysterious. Even the great clans don't know much about him, but one thing is for sure. His strength is definitely not simple, and his background is not small. Because of this, he was like a fish in water in the capital. No one dared to find trouble with him. For a person who cannot be understood, no one wants to be his enemy." Yan Padian sighed with emotion. Yan Luyun was slightly disappointed to see that the old master was unable to tell Ji Wuxiang's background. He asked, "Then what exactly did he mean by those words?" Yan Padian shook his head. "I can't guess it for the time being, but without a doubt, there is no such thing as an airtight wall in this world. These words will definitely reach the ears of others." "Huh?" "That's right. That's why it's hard to say whether this is good or bad for Tang Jing. Praise him to death." The silent Yan Qingyi's eyes suddenly lit up as she said in a powerful and resonant voice, "Kill by flattery." Yan Padian and Yan Luyun cried out in alarm. "You're saying that Ji Wuxiang deliberately said that, and then made Tang Jing's halo even more dazzling, so as to kill him?" None of them had thought of this. "Since Ji Wuxiang is as mysterious and far-sighted as you said, Father, then his words and actions must have a deeper meaning. I really can't figure out his specific thoughts, so I thought of this with a flash of inspiration," Yan Qingyi explained. Yan Luyun was puzzled. Would Ji Wuxiang really have such an intention? What good would it do him to kill Tang Jing? A person wouldn't do something that would be thankless, right? The few of them looked at each other speechlessly, unable to guess the reason behind it. This Ji Wuxiang was shrouded in layers of mysteries, shrouded in clouds and mist, making it impossible for people to see through him. "Then what should we do?" For the time being, we still can't figure out his specific intentions. Let's wait and see, and remind Tang Jing when necessary. In addition, our family's established policy will not change, but we must quickly close the distance between us and Tang Jing. This is your aunt's gain from this trip. The world is really going to change, and Tang Jing is the most important factor. Whether or not our Yan clan can soar again depends on this child. Yan Padian said with a resounding voice. He did not retreat because of Ji Wuxiang's unknown intentions, but instead took a step closer. Obviously, what Yan Qingyi saw and heard in front of the Tree of Life had contributed to his determination. Yan Luyan glanced at his aunt, guessing that this must be related to the secret discussion between the two of them in the past few days. I heard that Tang Zheng's company has already started, with Mu Hongyan at the helm, and our Yan family is cooperating with his company in all aspects, pushing his company into the fast track of development. Since Ji Wuxiang has predicted his future achievements with certainty, then we will push Tang Jing forward. In the end, we still hope to see the day when he stands at the top of the world, and all of our Yan family's investments will bear fruit. Yan Padian added. Tang Jing did not know that those words had such a huge impact on him. Of course, this was a good influence, and a bad influence followed suit. Song Yu looked at the few people in front of him with an ashen face. These were all hedonistic sons of rich families who had been insufferably arrogant in the past, and were a group of people who followed his lead. These people had become so battered and exhausted. It was as if he had been ruthlessly slapped in the face, causing him to feel a burning pain. Young Master Song, you have to uphold justice for us. That Tang Zheng is too arrogant, he doesn't put us in his eyes at all, and even more so, he doesn't put you in his eyes, young Master Song. Everyone complained with snot and tears streaming down their faces. So many of you are still not a match for him. You still have the face to complain in front of me. Song Yu roared in disappointment. The few of them trembled in fear and said, Ji Wuxiang is also helping him. We can't do anything about it. We have the heart, but we don't have the strength. Ji Wuxiang. Yes, he publicly asserted that Tang Jing would surpass several great families in the future, and that he alone would break the world structure. Song Yu's brows tightened, his expression fluctuating. The few of them looked at him with fear and trepidation. Someone said indignantly, he's talking nonsense. Who does that kid think he is? Breaking the world structure. Isn't he afraid of biting his tongue when talking big? There's young Master Song in this world. That kid has no place to strut around. The others hurriedly agreed and nodded in agreement. Shut up. Song Yu said coldly. In the past, Song Yu was a cultured and refined person who never revealed his inner world. However, the more he interacted with Tang Jing, the more he gradually lost control of his temper. He could no longer restrain it. In particular, Qin Lao's death had seriously agitated him. Since he was young, Qin Lao had been by his side and could be considered his closest bodyguard. The relationship between the old and the young was quite good. However, because of a momentary mistake, he sent Qin Lao to ordinary balance, but he didn't expect that Qin Lao would die at the hands of Tang Jing. Therefore, he hated Tang Jing to the bone. He wanted nothing more than to drink his blood and eat his flesh. However, he knew that Tang Jing's power was already established, and he also had the backing of the National Security Bureau. It wouldn't be easy for him to touch Tang Jing. Qin Lao's death could only be temporarily put aside, but he never forgot this hatred in his heart. This time, the few rich playboys were taught a lesson, but it didn't make him lose his wolf. However, after hearing Ji Wuxiang's words, he couldn't stay calm anymore. Ji Wuxiang was too mysterious. His assertion was very likely to be true. If Tang Jing was really as successful and powerful as he said, then his revenge would be even more unrealistic. He absolutely couldn't allow this to happen. Seeing Song Yu lose his temper, the few people closed their mouths and looked at him in silence. Ji Wuxiang, do you really think so highly of him? Song Yu seemed to be talking to himself, his eyes filled with an ominous glint. Young Master Song, I think you're just bragging. How could that brat be so powerful? Someone couldn't help but interject. Song Yu coldly smiled and disdainfully said, what do you know? You guys only know how to eat, drink, play, and chase after female stars. What else can you do? The few people were speechless. Wasn't this a true portrayal of their daily lives? You guys can go back. Song Yu impatiently waved his hand. None of these people could help him at a critical moment or give him advice. He couldn't help but miss Qin Lao. If he was still here, he would definitely analyze the pros and cons for him. Once he thought of Qin Lao, his heart couldn't help but ache. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath to calm himself down. Seeing the few people leave, his eyes once again filled with an ominous glint. He gritted his teeth and said, Tang Jing, how could I let you do as you wish? Ji Wuxiang, although you think highly of him, I want you to know that there are too many variables in this world. I want to make Tang Jing completely disappear from this world. He finally made up his mind to get rid of Tang Jing before he reached the peak. But he clearly wasn't Tang Jing's opponent. Even with the help of the Song family, he still might not be able to win. After all, the Yen family had always been protecting him, and he also had the National Security Bureau behind him. You have too many protective talismans on you. Then I will find someone to break them. I heard that the dragon group suffered a big loss at his hands this time. Xing Feng must be furious. In the past, Xing Feng always wanted to work more closely with the Song family. This time, he will follow his wishes and work together to completely eliminate Tang Jing. No one knew that Ji Wuxiang's words would lead to so many consequences. What was his intention when he said those words? Was it to kill? Or did he have other motives? Tang Jing didn't know these details at all because he was told to quickly go to the airport at dawn. What was he going to do at the airport? He was confused. Suing Tian said with certainty that he had to hurry or he wouldn't let him go. Tang Jing had no choice but to say goodbye to Linger. He rushed to the airport early in the morning, but the scene in front of him made him flabbergasted. Outside the airport, several news trucks and many cameras were waiting solemnly. Damn, which country's leader is coming? What a big fuss. Tang Jing shook his head and searched for Suing Tian in the crowd. Chapter 649. Tang Jing was shocked. Why were they making such a big scene? Just as he was about to strike back, he realized that these were all reporters, so he quickly retreated. But the reporters had trained a pair of fast legs, and in the blink of an eye, they had surrounded Tang Jing from all directions, leaving no gaps. Tang Jing, what's the progress of your relationship with Princess N? They shoved their cameras in front of Tang Jing and bombarded him with questions. What's the progress of your relationship with Princess N? Will you marry Princess N in the future, or will you go to Sweden to get married? Was it your suggestion that Princess N came all the way to Huaxia to study? Are you here to pick her up now? The questions were getting more and more outrageous. Tang Jing's head was about to explode. How could these reporters have such a good imagination? It would be a waste if they didn't write novels. However, he finally figured out why there was such a big scene today. It turned out that Princess N was here. He thought that he would have to wait for a while. He didn't expect it to be so fast. Suing Tian was really a thief. He didn't tell him the truth and just tricked him into coming to the airport. Suing Tian probably also knew that if he told him the truth, he wouldn't be so obedient and come to the airport. But now that he was trapped by the reporters, he had a headache. Looking at the pairs of eyes that were burning with the flames of gossip, Tang Jing really wanted to jump up and fly over their heads. But then, it would definitely be more lively, and it would be recorded by those cameras. Seeing that he didn't say a word, the reporters didn't give up. They surrounded him even more tightly and kept asking him about his relationship with Princess Anne. Tang Zheng had no choice but to say loudly, "Everyone, listen to me. I have nothing to do with Princess Anne. What you know is fake. It's all a misunderstanding." How can it be a misunderstanding? Princess Anne came to China to study, and she even went to the same school as you. Isn't that the best proof? The reporters all had a look of "don't treat me like a child" and refuted one after another. Tang Zheng was at a loss for words, but he didn't want to be misunderstood any further. He explained, "What I said is true. I only know Princess Anne." Seeing that he was trying to distance himself from Princess Anne again and again, the reporters immediately imagined many scenarios. Finally, someone's eyes lit up as if he had discovered a new continent. He immediately lowered his head and recorded a line of words in his notebook. The mysterious knight and princess and feared that their relationship would change, so the mysterious knight deliberately distanced himself from her. When the others saw this, they reacted one after another and immediately thought of a headline with a similar title. Princess Anne had a change of heart as soon as she came to Huaxia. The mysterious knight actually had a change of heart. This was definitely explosive news, enough to attract the attention of the whole world. Crack! Crack! The sound of shutters kept ringing. The reporters recorded Tang Zheng's expression at the moment and wanted to convey it to all the readers. The image of this modern chin shimmy was bound to be deeply rooted in people's hearts and become the public enemy of many men and even women. A princess was actually abandoned by him. This kind of man was really too abominable. Tang Zheng didn't know that his image had suffered such a huge change. Seeing that there was finally a crack among the reporters, he took the opportunity to slip through and escape. Tang Zheng couldn't wait to leave the airport immediately, but before he could go far, he was stopped by Su Yingtian. He crossed his arms and looked at Tang Zheng with a faint smile. Tang Zheng frowned and said angrily, "Director Su, you are too deceptive. You didn't tell me the reason, so I was surrounded by these people and almost couldn't escape." Su Yingtian smiled and said, "This is a good thing that many people dream of. You are lucky. Go and ask how many people want to be the focus of the interview, but they don't have the opportunity. I will give this opportunity to you. You go." I want to, but I don't have that fate." This is your fate. You can't escape, so slowly enjoy it." Su Yingtian patted Tang Zheng's shoulder and laughed. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and waved his fist and said, "I don't believe in fate. I believe that fate is in my own hands and I can control it." Su Yingtian smiled noncommittally and said, "Don't run away at the last minute. I called you here for a proper reason." "What business?" "Protecting Princess Anne. Isn't this the most important thing? She is a princess. Does she still need me to protect her? Who knows how many bodyguards are protecting her in the dark? Why would she need me to do it?" Tang Zheng shook his head. He obviously thought that this was nonsense. "Didn't I tell you a few days ago? After Princess Anne comes to China, you will be in charge of her security. She doesn't have bodyguards." "Of course she does, but she didn't bring them this time. Since Princess Anne is here to study, she will be traveling lightly. So she is the only one who came to China." Tang Zheng almost fainted. A princess actually came to Huaxia by herself. This was too ridiculous. Didn't she know that there were many bad people in this world? But thinking about how she dared to sail alone on the vast sea, it was not difficult to understand her courage and behavior. But this made things difficult for Tang Zheng. She wanted to travel lightly, so she couldn't have someone follow her every day. So most of the time, she needed Tang Zheng to protect her. Protecting a princess, wasn't this nonsense? He had so many things to do every day. He had to practice martial arts and deal with other things. He didn't have enough time. How could he have the energy to protect the princess? Seeing Tang Zheng's gloomy mood, Su Yingtian explained, "This is something that many people yearn for even in their dreams, so don't try to stop me. Whoever wants it can take it by themselves. I really don't want it. Tang Zheng, you promised me. As a man, how can you go back on your words?" Su Yingtian used his trump card. "Damn, you didn't make it clear last time, okay? Where did you tell me that I am the only one who will protect her? I thought that I was just a support and would occasionally lend a hand, but now you are pushing everything to me." Tang Jing angrily retorted. Su Yingtian looked resentful. Knowing that he was in the wrong, he quickly smiled and said, "This is a special case. Please bear with it." Tang Jing also knew that although he had wasted so much time, he still had to accept this task. He could only sigh and said, "You tricked me. I will remember this. It won't be so easy in the future." Su Yingtian didn't mind and laughed. Passengers came out of the airport exit one after another. Reporters heard the news and immediately swarmed over to block the exit. Pairs of fiery eyes swept through the crowd. Suddenly, a tall Western face came into view. It was completely different from the other passengers. Whether it was appearance or temperament, it was much higher than the others. She wore light makeup and was dressed casually. Canvas shoes, jeans, a simple jacket, and a suitcase. Although it was a simple outfit, it was completely the style of a fashionista. Moreover, it gave off a handsome feeling. Princess Anne. There was no doubt that this was the simple Princess Anne. She didn't even wear a pair of sunglasses to cover half of her face like other celebrities. She completely exposed her beautiful face to everyone's eyes. There was no arrogance on her face. Her face was calm and her pair of lively eyes searched the crowd. Suddenly, her eyes fixed on a figure in the distance. The corner of her mouth couldn't help but reveal a charming smile. The cameras immediately recorded this smile. This smile was completely in line with Hua Xia's aesthetic. Tang Jing couldn't hide it all. Su Yingtian took a step back and slipped to the side like a passerby. His work was confidential. It was not suitable for him to be exposed under the spotlight. Tang Jing helplessly became the focus of the spotlight. His impatient expression was vividly recorded. Many people were even more certain of their previous thoughts. A man with such an expression towards Princess Anne must be a heartless man. The previous rumors weren't false. When Princess Anne came to China for a few days, Tang Jing disappeared. At that time, there were already rumors of him being a heartless man. Today's events directly confirmed this matter. Princess Anne excitedly waved at Tang Jing and walked towards him with her suitcase. Tang Zheng had no choice but to walk towards her. However, the reporters wouldn't let them go so easily. They blocked Princess Anne's path and started to ask her questions. Princess Anne's Hua Xia was very fluent and experienced. She answered the reporters smoothly. When asked about her relationship with Tang Jing, she smiled mysteriously but didn't say anything. Although there was no accurate sentence, it left people with unlimited imagination. In short, in the reporter's pen, Princess Anne was definitely the incarnation of a goddess. She was the polar opposite of Tang Jing. Move aside. What's there to watch? Seeing that the reporters were endless, Tang Jing impatiently squeezed through. This time, the reporters didn't have a good impression of Tang Jing. They all glared at him. However, Tang Jing acted as if he didn't see them. He directly squeezed to Princess Anne's side, took her suitcase, and asked, "Can we go now?" Whether it was her expression or her tone, she was impatient. It showed the demeanor of a chin shimmy. Princess Anne smiled sweetly and said, "Yes." Tang Jing conveniently picked up her suitcase and said, "Then let's go." You're about to cause a traffic jam. Tang Jing squeezed forward but was blocked by the reporters. It was so tight that he couldn't do anything. Everyone, please make way, is that okay? Thank you. Princess Anne saw the situation and immediately asked gently. Hua. Like the tide, the crowd retreated to the sides with humble smiles on their faces. Tang Jing really wanted to curse. No one cared about him at all. Princess Anne's simple words were treated like an imperial edict. The gap between men and women was too big. Chapter 650. What made Tang Jing dumbfounded was something absolutely unexpected. Princess Anne actually did not have a place to stay in China. This time, she came to study privately and deliberately refused the official reception request. Suing Tian did not tell Tang Jing about this situation. Which hotel do you want to go to? I'll take you there. Tang Jing touched his forehead and said with a headache. Princess Anne blinked her big lively eyes and said, I don't want to stay in a hotel. I'm tired of staying in all the hotels in the world. It's not interesting at all. Since I came to Huaxia, of course I have to adapt to the life of ordinary people. What do you mean by ordinary people's life? Tang Jing gradually had an ominous premonition. Sure enough, Princess Anne looked at Tang Jing affectionately and said, of course it's to live in an ordinary family. You also have a place to stay in Beijing. I'll live in your house. No. Tang Jing refused without thinking. He even saw the strange look in the taxi driver's eyes, as if to say this kid is a fool. He actually refused this kind of luck. Princess Anne's identity was indeed very tempting, even to Tang Jing, it was self-evident. But he already had enough romantic debts. If he provoked another princess, who knows how much trouble it would be. He didn't want to live under the spotlight all day, like a white mouse, without any secrets to speak of. After all, he really hid too many secrets that could not be revealed to outsiders. Princess Anne was not discouraged. She blinked her big watery eyes and said pitifully, can't I stay for a while? At this moment, Princess Anne's appearance was so charming, especially that lovely and moving eyes, it made people completely unable to say half a word of rejection. The driver glanced from the rearview mirror, his hands were in a panic, and he almost knocked the taxi into a nearby tree. The charm of the princess was indeed unstoppable. Even if Tang Jing was experienced, looking at her appearance, he could not bear to refuse. I live on campus, Tang Jing said helplessly. Princess Anne bit her lip and shook her head. No, you also have a place outside because you often don't return home at night. You won't tell me that you sleep under the bridge, right? Obviously, she was prepared to investigate and directly expose Tang Jing's lies. Tang Jing was speechless. He couldn't help but feel angry. Your identity is too special. It's not good for you to live with me. Princess Anne stubbornly shook her head. Instead, she moved her hips towards Tang Jing. The two of them faced each other, and they could almost hear each other's breathing. My identity is nothing. Your identity is the truly special one. Princess Anne had always believed that Tang Jing was an immortal. Since he was an immortal, then her identity as a princess seemed insignificant. Therefore, she had never put on airs in front of Tang Jing. Living with you is something I've always dreamed of. Princess Anne stared at Tang Jing with burning eyes. She was like a little girl who saw her idol for a long time. Cough cough. Tang Jing almost choked on his saliva. This sentence had too many meanings. Living with him, didn't that mean living together? Living together with a princess, this seemed to be very tempting. Cough cough. He coughed dryly and hurriedly discarded these charming thoughts. Although this was a very tempting thing, the risks involved were not small. What would Fang Shishir think of him? There was also Yi Dingdang. It would be strange if they did not make a scene. Moreover, the media would swarm him. They would not give up until they dug up all the details of him. He scratched his head. This was really a vexing problem. Tang Jing, can I live in your house? And stared at Tang Jing with watery eyes. Her eyes were filled with expectation. Young man, a man should be straightforward. Why are you being so wishy-washy? The girl has already said this much. If you still refuse, I will doubt if you are a man. Moreover, this is a foreign friend. Hey, it is my duty to bring glory to the country. The driver seemed to be unable to continue watching this situation. He could not help but speak up for the injustice. You don't understand the situation. Tang Jing rolled his eyes. How could I not understand the situation? Back in the day, your uncle also fought his way to the top. I have plenty of experience. Hurry up and say yes. The driver was obviously unaware of Princess Annie's true identity, but he still sounded very reasonable. I can only let you stay for a few days. Since you like the life of an ordinary person in the capital so much, then go find a new house in 2 days. Tang Jing could only take a step back and compromise. Anne's charm was too great. If the stalemate continued, perhaps the driver would not be able to bear it and would directly leave Tang Jing on the road. Yay! When Anne heard this, her eyes lit up. She cheered and hugged Tang Jing. Her body was tightly pressed against his. The chauffeur smiled knowingly. Tang Jing indeed felt like he was on fire and ice. He had to admit that Anne's body was very good. Her front and back were perky. Moreover, because of her long-term training, her limbs were well proportioned. There were also some small muscles that were filled with the beauty of strength. With such a great body lying on top of him, it was enough to create a fatal temptation. It made Tang Jing's heartbeat uncontrollably quicken. And completely did not realize that she had such a great charm. She just naturally revealed her excitement. After a while, she finally let go and moved her body to give Tang Jing enough space. From time to time, she would point at the scenery outside the window and ask Tang Jing questions. Tang Jing chatted with her casually. He could not help but remember that he purposely disappeared some time ago. After this meeting, Anne did not mention a word about it. It was as if it had never happened. He did not know if she did it on purpose or if she had really forgotten. The more she was like this, the more Tang Jing felt a little guilty. She was a dignified princess, and she had repeatedly expressed her goodwill, but he avoided her like the plague, as if she was a god of plague. This was indeed a bit of a blow. Looking at the excited Anne, Tang Jing's heart moved. Actually, she was also a simple girl. She was not arrogant. Instead, she was more approachable than most so-called goddesses. Forget it. I'll let her stay first. Then I'll find a place for her. I hope no one else finds out. Otherwise, the news of me living with Princess Anne would be too big. The taxi stopped at the entrance of a residential area not far from Yenqing University. The two of them got off together and walked into the residential area. Along the way, they attracted a lot of attention. Although it was not uncommon to see foreigners in a big city like Yenqing, there was nothing strange about it. However, Anne's temperament and appearance were completely different from the average foreigner. She could not help but attract attention. Tang Jing said in a low voice, "Let's go." Seeing that she did not have much of a reaction, he instead observed the situation in the residential area with interest. Tang Jing anxiously grabbed her hand and did not allow her to resist. In fact, she did not resist at all. She strode into the residential area. Bang! The door was heavily slammed shut. Tang Jing finally breathed a sigh of relief. And looked like she had returned to her own home. She looked around Tang Jing's residential area with interest. Whoosh! A white figure jumped out of the house and jumped on Tang Zheng's shoulder in the blink of an eye. A pair of small eyes rolled around and looked at the uninvited guest suspiciously, and recognized Xiao Bai at a glance. She covered her mouth with her hand and could not help but exclaim, "Wow, it's him." At that time, Xiao Bai was still fresh in her memory. She had also seen how powerful Xiao Bai was in the South Sea Dragon Palace. It was like a mythical beast in the legends, which made her very curious. Xiao Bai squeaked twice. Apparently, it did not have much feelings for this beauty. It lay on Tang Zheng's shoulder and licked its toes. "Shangxian, you're back." Gue Qiansui slowly climbed out and greeted respectfully. Princess and also recognized Gue Qiansui. At that time, it was an enemy, but now it was subdued by Tang Zheng, and looked at Tang Zheng with eyes full of worship. Tang Zheng was simply a godlike figure. No, he was even more powerful than the mythical immortals in the Western world. Tang Zheng stole a glance at Gue Qiansui. His eyes lit up and exclaimed, "Your cultivation has improved so fast." Gue Qiansui practiced the Heavenly Spirit 36 Absolutes. His cultivation had increased greatly, and the aura he exuded was completely different. That was why Tang Zheng noticed this, but he couldn't help but be shocked. Gue Qiansui was overjoyed and said, "All of this is the effect of Shangxian's cultivation method. Thank you for your help. As long as I master the Heavenly Spirit 36 Absolutes, I will be able to transform into a human." "Really? That's great." Tang Zheng was still vexed that he had so many demon beasts, and there was no way to take them away. But now the situation has changed. As long as he had the Heavenly Spirit 36 Absolutes, the demon beasts would be able to transform into a human once they mastered it. At that time, no matter where Tang Zheng went, they would be able to protect him and serve him. It was simply like having a few more powerful helpers, and they could follow him at any time. All of this is Shangxian's reward. I, Gue Qiansui, will definitely remember it. Gue Qiansui said excitedly. Listening to the conversation between the two, Princess An felt like she was shrouded in fog, but she also felt that it was very novel. She sincerely sighed and said, "Tang Zheng, you are really more mysterious and powerful than I thought." Tang Zheng smiled and said, "You flatter me. I hope to know more about you in the future. I am very interested in the culture of your Huaxia." And said enthusiastically, "Then you should pay more attention in class. I don't need to know anything about you. I will prepare a room for you." "Thank you." Annie smiled faintly and did not refuse. The cohabitation life here had just begun, but the entertainment circle and the international community had already exploded. The matter of Tang Zheng and had gone viral on the internet. There were countless shocking headlines, most of which were protesting and angry at Tang Zheng's behavior. What did he do to win Princess An's favor? And Princess An could be said to be throwing herself at him, chasing him so far to see him. Of course, the statement about Tang Zheng, the modern Chen Shimi, was also very popular. It attracted the attention of all parties and caused various social effects. Chapter 651. The Swedish Royal Family. The king looked at the beautiful scenery outside the window with a sad face. He was in a terrible mood. Princess An was his youngest daughter and his most beloved pearl. Her growth experience was quite different from that of ordinary royal princesses. Since she was young, she had been nurtured according to her interests and wishes. Therefore, her personality was very independent. Otherwise, she would not have sailed across the ocean alone at such a young age. After visiting Huaxia, she took the initiative to ask to study abroad. This really surprised the king, but he did not delve into the reason. Over the years, Huaxia's national strength had risen strongly, far surpassing many of the old powers in the West, and even contending with the Atlantic Empire. Of course, Sweden was also looking forward to a good relationship with Huaxia, so they agreed to Anne's request. However, the king did not expect Annie to do all this for the sake of that mysterious night. Speaking of this mysterious night, it really surprised the past. When the mysterious night was revealed, he thought that the other party and Anne would not have any more interactions. But he did not expect that the two of them would meet unexpectedly in Huaxia. If he had known this, he would not have agreed to Anne's visit to Huaxia. Now, his subordinates have already reported to him in detail what happened in Huaxia's capital city, focusing on the mysterious night Tangjing. But he did not think that Tangjing really had anything to do with Anne. Of course, the king did not sit idly by for the island nation's bad behavior of assassinating Anne. He had already stopped several important cooperation with the island nation. This time, the media once again released such eye-catching news, and even said that Princess Anne had been abandoned. This was not only damaging to the dignity of the royal family, but also a great harm to his daughter. As the king of a country and the father of a daughter, he could no longer ignore it. He is a cultivator of Huaxia, but so what? If you dare to treat my daughter like this, I will teach you a lesson. The king clenched his teeth and thought silently. Tang Zhang's identity as a cultivator was not a secret. For a country's ruler, it was not difficult to investigate this point. However, he didn't know much about the identity of cultivators. He only knew that they were very powerful people. But no matter how powerful they were, could they contend against an entire country? The king easily came to a negative answer, and, having seen the apple of his eye being pushed into the limelight again and again, the king decided to act. Tang Zhang and Princess Anne's cohabitation life was not peaceful. The two of them went downstairs to buy some daily necessities, which attracted a lot of attention along the way. If he went in and out of this house with her every day, Tang Zhang would undoubtedly become the center of attention, and the neighbors would come to watch. I have to find a way to change the current situation. Tang Zhang silently made up his mind. Creak. The bathroom door opened, and a gust of fragrant wind blew in. This was not the smell of any perfume, but a natural light fragrance. Body fragrance. Tang Zhang immediately made a judgment and looked in the direction of the fragrance. Who? His breathing immediately became rapid, and his heartbeat increased a bit. He saw a beautiful woman standing in front of him, wrapped in a bath towel. Her white shoulders and slender legs were completely exposed to the air. There were still a few water droplets left on her skin, as if they would roll down her rosy white skin at any time. Princess Anne did not notice Tang Zhang's strange expression. She continued to wipe her hair with the towel, and her breasts almost burst the towel on her body. I heard that she is only 18 years old. How come her body is so good? Her movements are so big, won't the towel fall off? Tang Zhang mischievously speculated. As soon as this thought appeared, other thoughts came like a tide. What kind of scenery is inside the towel? It really makes people want to find out. He took a deep breath and suppressed the restless flames in his heart. Unexpectedly, Anne walked towards him while drying her hair and said lazily, I sat on the plane for too long. I am really tired. I feel much better after taking a bath. After saying that, she stretched her waist and stretched her slender arms. The scenery in front of her chest became even more magnificent. Then, she sat down next to Tang Zhang. Her slender legs were tightly pressed together, and the towel wrapped around her buttocks and thighs. The scenery was faintly discernible. The flames that Tang Zhang had just suppressed jumped up again. No, this is too much of a test. He was a young man in his 20s, and his fire was already very strong. This kind of stimulation over and over again was simply driving him crazy. Since you're tired, then go to sleep. Tang Zhang said absent-mindedly. I am still jet-lagged. I am very energetic now. Chat with me. And said in high spirits. What is there to talk about? Tang Zhang said perfunctorily. And shook her head and said, there is a lot to talk about. For example, I only found out that you are a cultivator after going back. Are cultivators the legendary immortals? No. But you are so powerful. In my heart, you are like an immortal. And held her chin with both hands and stared at Tang Zhang with sparkling eyes. Tang Zhang was speechless. If he was as powerful as an immortal, then wouldn't he be invincible? Although this girl was a princess, her eyes were not very good. Even with his strength, she still thought that he was an immortal. She was really ignorant. Tang Zhang did not have the habit of pretending in front of a beauty. He directly said, you flatter me. I am just an ordinary person. I am just a little more powerful than the average person. Is that so? But I don't think so. And moved her body a little closer to Tang Zhang. A fragrant wind blew in his face. Tang Zhang's heart swayed. With a whoosh, the flame in his heart was ignited. Are you kidding me? How can I be so easily aroused tonight? Tang Zhang was puzzled. Princess An was beautiful, but Tang Zhang was not a virgin. Logically speaking, he should not be unable to control the desire in his heart. But her little action almost made Tang Zhang lose control. There must be a problem somewhere. You don't look too good. What's wrong? Princess An asked while reaching out her hand to touch his forehead. Whoosh! Suddenly, the flame in his heart flew up and his breathing became hurried. Oh no, the pure yang energy is acting up. Tang Zhang finally realized what the problem was. It turned out that the pure yang energy was causing trouble. His pure yang energy has been quiet for a long time. Although he has not been close to women recently, his body has not changed in the slightest. But Anne's appearance obviously made the pure yang energy surge. Especially in the dead of night, a man and a woman alone in a room made him almost lose control. But in the end, the wolf did not let him do anything stupid. He stood up and said, I'm going to bed. Good night. With that, he rushed into the bedroom. He took a few deep breaths and found that the pure yang energy did not stop. Instead, it became more and more intense and showed signs of breaking through his body. Can't you stop for a moment? It makes me look like a beast. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Obviously, the pure yang energy could not understand his words. It was running amok in his meridians. After a while, he seemed to be boiling. No, I can't let it develop so unscrupulously. Otherwise, I will really explode and die tonight. In the middle of the night, there was no one to calm him down. In the capital, Wu went somewhere to practice. Lu Qingmei went on a business trip. Only Yi Dingdang was left. But she and Yi Dingdang had not developed to that point. Did he have to rush to the Ya family in the middle of the night and say, Dingdang, let's go to bed? It would be strange if he was not treated as a madman. Moreover, he would lose face. How would he face Yi Dingdang in the future? This time I will grit my teeth and endure. He closed his eyes and operated the ancient clear heaven scroll. His true qi flowed little by little in his meridians. Since he started practicing the ancient clear heaven scroll, he had already memorized this ancient book. The ancient clear heaven scroll has more than 1,000 words. It is not like ordinary cultivation techniques that are divided into levels. It needs to be practiced step by step. Instead, it needs to be practiced throughout the entire cultivation technique. True qi revolves according to the ancient book. It is the same as practicing the ancient clear heaven scroll once. True qi revolves once and the true qi will increase by a little. Therefore, the ancient clear heaven scroll will be practiced step by step. Naturally, one's skill will improve. But this is also a big weakness of the ancient clear heaven scroll. It is too gradual. It needs to revolve the true qi again and again, accumulating it little by little. In a short period of time, it is impossible to rapidly increase the true qi. Therefore, it is impossible to suddenly increase one's skill. Tang Zheng has long discovered this point, but has not had an effective solution. So for the time being, he threw it to the back of his mind and cultivated bit by bit. But this has an advantage. At any time, he can silently operate the ancient clear heaven scroll. At any time, true qi can automatically revolve and increase his skill. As for the dragon god arts, it is extremely difficult to get started. After getting started, each realm has a corresponding cultivation technique. There is no need to practice the entire cultivation technique. If this kind of cultivation technique is coincidental, it will soar like a volcanic eruption, greatly increasing one's skill. Compared to the ancient clear heaven scroll, the dragon god arts cannot be practiced at any time. One must calm down and carefully understand the profound meaning of each realm. Then, one can cultivate according to it. Only in this way can one improve. During this period of time, Tang Zheng would silently cultivate the dragon god arts in the dead of night. After all, there are too many unknown treasures hidden in the Langya Pavilion. He also wants to go to the third floor to see what kind of treasures are hidden. But obviously, he is only cultivated to the second realm of the dragon god arts. There is no sign of it soaring. The true qi of the ancient clear heaven scroll did not suppress the pure yang energy. Instead, it was affected by the pure yang energy. The true qi also became hot and restless. The two sides complemented each other. His body was almost burning. Squeak squeak. Xiao Bai jumped in front of him and stared at him with its black eyes. Tang Zheng heard the movement and opened his eyes to look at Xiao Bai. He said, "Xiao Bai, I can't control my pure yang energy. Do you have a way?" Xiao Bai directly jumped in front of Tang Zheng's palm, opened its small mouth and bit his finger. With a fierce force, blood flowed out and flowed into his mouth. It really works. Chapter 652. Xiao Bai looked at Tang Zheng in panic, screaming at his blood. Tang Zheng was surprised and asked, "Xiao Bai, what's wrong?" Xiao Bai quickly shook his head, as if he was afraid of his blood. "You don't like my blood?" Tang Zheng was puzzled. Xiao Bai nodded and screamed at his finger. Tang Zheng was really puzzled about the changes in his blood. In the past, Xiao Bai had absorbed his blood and there was no difference. Why was he so afraid this time? Just now, the pure yang energy had found a vent and a part of it had been absorbed. His body had calmed down a lot. He continued to circulate his energy to appease the pure yang energy, wandering on the edge of eruption. The next day, Tang Zheng opened his eyes. He was exhausted. The dark circles under his eyes were dark and big. After a night of torment, the pure yang energy was finally appeased by him. But he also realized that something was wrong. Tian Chanzi predicted that his pure yang energy would finally erupt at the age of 20, causing him to explode and die. This year, he was 19 years old. He was getting closer and closer to the date of death. Moreover, his cultivation was getting higher and higher. The accumulation of pure yang energy over time had also greatly increased. When there were women by his side, he could still absorb pure yin energy to reconcile. But now, there were no women by his side. He was in an extremely dangerous state. In the past, he could still absorb pure yin energy by getting close to other girls. Now, he could do the same. However, absorbing pure yin energy like that was like throwing a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. It couldn't balance out the increasing amount of pure yang energy. He now wanted to reconcile the pure yang energy. There was only one way, but this method was not so easy to implement. He shook his head and threw away this messy thought. He walked out of the bedroom and found that Anne had also woken up. And looked over and covered her mouth in surprise. "What's wrong with you?" His tired look was really terrible. It was a world of difference from yesterday. Tang Jing tiredly waved his hand and said, "I'm fine." "Really?" And trotted over and asked with concern, "Do you need to go to the hospital?" "I'm really fine. I just didn't sleep well." "Oh." And heaved a sigh of relief and smiled. "I slept very well last night. Your house really does help me sleep better." In fact, this was the so-called sense of security. With Tang Zheng by her side, she would have an indescribable sense of security, as if no one in the world could hurt her, and she could relax to the extreme. For someone of her status, this state was extremely precious. Therefore, in just one night, she had already fallen in love with Tang Zheng's house. Tang Zheng didn't know what she was thinking. Otherwise, he would have regretted it. After tidying up and washing up, the two of them went downstairs. Tang Zheng had to go to school, and then had to report to school, so it was on the way. The school wasn't far, so the two of them walked there. On the way, they bought fried dough sticks, steamed buns, soy milk, and other breakfast. And ate with relish and exclaimed that it was delicious. For ordinary people, breakfast couldn't be any simpler, but in her mouth, it became a supreme delicacy. Tang Zheng was speechless. The number of people turning their heads to look at them was very high. When they arrived at school, the number of people turning their heads to look at them reached a peak. The students of Yenqing University had a vivid memory of Princess Anne. Ordinary people couldn't recognize her, but these students quickly recognized her. They exclaimed and pointed at her. Especially when they saw Tang Jing beside her, there was no longer any doubt about her identity. Princess Anne really came to Yenqing University. Not long ago, the news said that Princess Anne would come to China for an exchange, but they didn't expect that she would choose Yenqing University. The students immediately felt honored. At this moment, they were even more convinced of yesterday's gossip. Princess Anne really came to Huaxia to chase the mysterious knight Tang Jing. Moreover, she specially chose Yenqing University. Her painstaking efforts were so obvious that even the heavens were touched. Many boys looked at Tang Jing with envy and jealousy. Why did he have such good luck and fate? If they had this opportunity, even if their lives were shortened by 10 years, they wouldn't have lived in vain. Tang Jing felt the complicated and strange gazes coming from all directions. He said, "I'll go to the classroom first. Goodbye." "Hey, wait a minute." Seeing that he was about to leave, Princess Anne grabbed his hand. Her soft palm felt great to the touch. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, countless pairs of murderous eyes looked over. Everyone stared at this scene without blinking. Tang Zheng was actually holding hands with Anne. That was the hand of a princess. How many lifetimes did he have to cultivate to have this blessing? Tang Zheng's heart couldn't help but tremble. Just like yesterday, his heart was exceptionally weak. Anne's careless little action would ignite his body. He didn't want the pure yang energy that he had suppressed with great difficulty last night to explode like this. Thus, he quickly broke free from her hand. F***ck. Looking at his impatient and disgusted look, someone couldn't help but burst out. What was wrong with this kid? She was a princess. A princess took the initiative to hold hands, yet he was so disgusted. Some people were restless. They really wanted to rush up and strangle him. "I don't know where the school's office building is. Take me there," and said. Just take me there. It won't delay your class." Anne's tone was a bit coquettish. It really made people unable to reject her. "Okay, let's go." Tang Jing compromised. He quickly walked to the school's office building. Along the way, the students all looked over. After sending Anne to the school's office with great difficulty, Tang Jing flew away under her reluctant gaze. Not long after arriving at the classroom, the members of Team 502 came. They surrounded Tang Jing and vividly talked about the gossip between him and Princess Anne. Yesterday's big news was read word for word. Princess Anne actually came to Yenqing University for an exchange study. Even a fool could tell that she came for Tang Jing. Sinosaurus hugged Tang Jing's shoulder. His loud voice almost tore down the classroom. Lao San, no matter what, you have to treat us this time. That's a princess. Ha, I can't see where your charm lies. Why are there so many beauties chasing after you? Don't misunderstand. I really have nothing to do with her. Tang Jing bitterly smiled. Ha, Lao San, you have nothing to do with her now, but that might not be the case in the future. Lao San, am I right? Zhou Yang agreed. Wang Shiji nodded his head solemnly and said, Fourth bro is right. In short, this is a joyous occasion for our dorm. To have reached this level of relationship with the princess, this is equivalent to an extension of our country's foreign policy. Ha, Lao San, you really have high standards. Sinosaurus clapped his hands and praised, Lao San, can you invite Princess Anne to eat with you? Last time I only caught a glimpse of her. If I can sit face to face with Princess Anne and eat with her, then I would be extremely lucky. Yes, eat with Princess Anne. The other two hurriedly agreed. They were obviously very interested in this proposal. This isn't too good. Tang Jing awkwardly said. Lao San, you can't be that bad, right? We don't have any other intentions. We just want to eat with the princess. As long as you ask, she will definitely agree. Looking at the three people's eager eyes, Tang Jing had no choice but to agree. The day's classes quickly ended. Tang Jing hadn't even gone to find Anne, but she had already taken the initiative to come to him. Let's go home. Anne said with a sweet smile. Go home. The other three people were stupefied. Their eyes became strange and thought-provoking as they stared straight at Tang Jing. Don't let your imagination run wild. Tang Jing rolled his eyes and didn't explain further. This kind of thing would only make things worse if he explained. The three people laughed mischievously. They didn't comment, but they clearly didn't believe Tang Jing's words. They thought he had a guilty conscience. Let's eat together tonight. Tang Jing invited. Eat, really? That's great. I love Hua Xiao's food the most. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Tonight I'll treat everyone to a meal. And said in high spirits. Your Highness the Princess is treating us. We are really lucky. When the other three heard this, they were overjoyed. The three people were just about to walk out of the school when several beautiful figures walked over from the distance. The one walking in front was Yi Dingdang. The expressions of the four girls were clearly not good, especially Yi Dingdang. Her face was like frost as she stared at and with an unkind expression. Yesterday they had already noticed the news of Princess Anne and Tang Jing. And this morning the news had spread like wildfire. Tang Jing and Anne had come to school together and were even holding hands. Their behavior was incomparably intimate, no different from a couple. Everyone knew about the relationship between Tang Jing and Yi Dingdang. They all felt that it was unfair for her. Yi Dingdang's heart was also extremely pained. Of course she knew that Tang Jing's luck with women was very good, but she never would have thought that this time he would provoke a princess. She wasn't afraid of Anne's identity as a princess, but after all, Anne's fame was too great. She was also too beautiful, so people couldn't help but feel apprehensive. It even gave birth to feelings of fear and worry. As a girl, she was very clear about how easy it was for a beauty to chase after a man. Especially when this was a princess. This kind of identity was simply a fatal temptation to men. It would make men feel a strong sense of conquest. Seeing Anne and Tang Jing talking and laughing from afar, Yi Dingdang felt as if her heart had been ruthlessly stabbed by a bayonet. Her face became somewhat pale. The two sides stopped half a meter apart and looked at each other closely. The girls carefully examined Princess Anne, as if they wanted to find a flaw in her body. But after a while, they found that all of this was futile. At least in terms of appearance, Princess Anne was enough to kill many so-called goddesses. Her appearance was simply impeccable, and there wasn't even a single scar. Her skin was smooth and elastic, and the luster was very well proportioned. It was completely envied by women. Yi Dingdang looked at Anne with mixed feelings. Then her eyes turned and stared at Tang Jing. Her eyes became more and more complicated. Chapter 653. Dingdang, you're here. Tang Jing greeted warmly. Yi Dingdang wanted to say something but stopped, looking at Tang Jing with hidden bitterness. The atmosphere was a little awkward as the air seemed to be filled with an invisible killing intent. When Sinosaurus and the others saw the situation, they wanted to make a joke out of it. However, Li Fangfei and the others glared at them fiercely. Princess Anne asked naturally, "Are these your friends?" "Wow, all of them are beauties. Why don't we have a meal together?" Princess Anne was a smart person. The moment she saw Yi Dingdang's reaction, she guessed most of it. The other party was treating her as a love rival. However, she did not care about that. That was because she had absolute confidence in herself. As for her feelings towards Tang Jing, she subconsciously glanced at Tang Jing and her lips curled into a charming smile. Actually, she herself could not explain her feelings towards Tang Jing. She only felt that he was especially mysterious and she felt a sense of security around him. As for the rest, she could not be bothered. Since young, she had always followed her instincts. At this moment, her instincts were telling her that she should stay by Tang Jing's side. Therefore, she naturally did as she was told. Hearing her invitation, the few girls' expressions became even more complicated. The aura that Anne displayed was completely superior to the few of them. This was something that had been accumulated since young. It was not something that the few girls could compete against. Yi Dingdang did not retreat. Instead, she took a step forward and said, "Sure, thank you." Since the other party had issued an invitation, if she were to back out, wouldn't that mean that she was afraid of her? Since young, Yi Dingdang had never been afraid of anyone. If she met a mountain, she would cross it. If she met an ocean, she would swim over it. All in all, the difficulties of the outside world would not make her back out. Instead, it would stimulate her competitiveness. However, everything seemed to be a little different today. Seeing that Yi Dingdang agreed, the other three girls also stayed. They stood behind Yi Dingdang and became her strongest backing. The group walked out of the campus. Tang Jing, Yi Dingdang, and Anne took the lead, while the other girls and boys were a little behind them. Li Fangfei glared fiercely at the three boys and asked sternly, "Do you know that this is betrayal? How could you not inform us of such important information? It's not like you don't know the relationship between Dingdang and Tang Jing. How can you face Dingdang like this?" The three of them lowered their heads and remained silent. "Humph, don't think that I don't know." The boys saw that she was a princess and was beautiful, so they were reluctant to report it to us. They even secretly wanted to have a meal with her. Tell me honestly, do they have any improper thoughts? In the face of the three fierce beauties, the three men were speechless. They had truly experienced how terrifying it was when the beauties flipped out. If you're not saying anything, it means that you're admitting it. The three of them exchanged glances and hurriedly raised their heads, shaking their heads in denial. "No, we're definitely not admitting it or having any improper thoughts." Princess and is having an affair with old third. What has that got to do with us? She's really having an affair with Tangjing. The three beauties' faces froze up. They had been guessing all this while. But now that it was confirmed by Tang Zhang's good brothers, the credibility of it rose sharply. The three of them looked at one another. Knowing that they had spilled the beans, they hurriedly covered their mouths. Since you've already said it, you can't take it back even if you cover your mouth. The beauties glared at the three of them fiercely and mocked. Old third, we've let you down. Sinosaurus's face was sullen as he mumbled softly. I'll give you guys a chance to redeem yourselves. Later on, act according to the situation. You must definitely cheer for our ding-dang. You must not lose to that Princess Anne. Li Fangfei said sternly. She's a princess. What's the use of us cheering for her? Why do you have so many excuses? The reason why the three beauties wanted to borrow the aura of the three men was because they did not have any confidence. If it were any other girls, they would definitely not be so nervous and lacking in confidence. From this, it could be seen just how much pressure Princess Anne gave off. Tang Zheng, Yi Dingdang, and were all silent. They would occasionally glance at Tang Zheng before quickly shifting their gazes away. This silence caused Tang Zheng to feel a little stifled. Finally, he could not hold it in any longer and broke the silence. What a coincidence today. Yi Dingdang and looked over at the same time. Yi Dingdang said bitterly, that's right. What a coincidence. If we hadn't come looking for you, were you prepared to keep this from me? Tang Zheng really wanted to slap himself. What a coincidence. How was this resolving the conflict? Instead, it was escalating the flames of war. His expression did not change as he feigned ignorance. I'm not hiding anything from you. You're not. Do you really think I'm an idiot? Yi Dingdang originally wanted to fight for it. She did not want to lose to Tang Zheng. But he actually said that he was not hiding anything from her. This sentence deeply hurt her. The pain in his eyes became even more intense. Although she did not see Tang Zheng in person in the past 2 days, the internet and newspapers were all over the place. Tang Zheng's photos were forcefully stuffed into her mind. Especially the photo of him and Anne. It broke her heart even more. At this moment, seeing Tang Zheng's clean denial, her heart felt like it had been ruthlessly stabbed with a knife. She had the urge to cry. She held it in. She had always been a strong girl. But the previous events were still vivid in her mind. It was as if it happened yesterday. That night, because of Princess Anne, the two of them had a little friction. Because of this, their feelings for each other went even further. He kissed her. She was intoxicated by this passionate kiss. Her heart completely lost control. She joked that if something really happened between him and Anne, she would kill him. She was so relaxed and confident at that time. Because she believed that nothing would really happen between Tang Zheng and Anne. They were like shooting stars. They only had a moment of intersection in the sky and then continued on their original trajectory. But she never thought that all of this was her beautiful extravagant hope. It was completely shattered so quickly. She was like a joke, especially that calm confidence she had at the beginning. She was so laughable that even she wanted to laugh at herself ruthlessly. But she could not laugh. She wanted to cry. She originally did not want to admit defeat, but Tang Zheng's reaction in this short period of time made her thoughts waver. Tang Zheng saw too many complicated emotions in her eyes. His heart became heavier. He tried to grab her hand, but she mercilessly broke free. Ding Dang, listen to my explanation. Tang Zheng said. You have nothing to explain. I don't want to listen to your explanation. Yi Ding Dang coldly lost her temper and said. She was too disappointed. She was originally an unyielding girl. She chose to turn a blind eye to the matter between Tang Zhang and Fang Shishir because Fang Shishir was a step ahead of her. She had no choice but to accept this situation. And was someone who came later. Moreover, she mysteriously appeared out of nowhere and was as fast as lightning. The speed of her development with Tang Zhang was stupefying. It really surpassed the speed of her and Tang Zhang's development. She and Tang Zhang had known each other for a long time, but the speed of their development could not be considered fast. Suddenly, a woman appeared and surpassed her speed. This sense of defeat enveloped her and almost suffocated her. She chose to ignore Tang Zhang's explanation. She gradually began to believe some of the words that had been passed down for a long time. If a man is reliable, even pigs can climb trees. Men were the best at glib tongues. If she listened to his explanation, he would definitely weave an explanation that would convince her. She was a bit afraid of this explanation. She was afraid that if she believed it, there would be more explanations in the future. At that time, should she choose to believe or doubt? She didn't know. That would drive her crazy. But she was not in a hurry to leave. Her last bit of pride stopped her from running away. Facing Princess Anne, she had to maintain her last bit of pride. Tang Zhang was speechless. He looked at Yi Dingdang helplessly, but she turned her head and did not look at him. Princess Anne naturally noticed the strange atmosphere and interjected, "Let's go to that restaurant from last time. I think it's very good." When she had visited China, Tang Zhang had taken her to Li Hongqing's private restaurant. It seemed that she had already fallen in love with it. Yi Dingdang did not express her opinion, and Tang Zhang agreed bitterly. But there was still a certain distance to the private restaurant. They took 3 cars. Tang Zhang and the other 2 sat in one car, and the 2 beautiful women sat in the back. The driver's soul was almost stolen, and he almost had a traffic accident. But the atmosphere in the car was really strange to the extreme. Tang Zhang wanted to say nothing, but he couldn't stand Anne's repeated questions. He could only introduce the various scenery outside to her. Yi Dingdang looked on coldly, like a passerby who had nothing to do with her. Li Hongqing warmly received the group of people. Nowadays, Tang Zhang chose this place to entertain his friends most of the time. It seemed to have become his special restaurant. Li Hongqing was still so mature and charming. She accompanied them all the way. Since Princess Anne came to eat here, her business had gone up a level. This was not to say that her business was not good before. The private restaurant's business was excellent in the past, and guests came in an endless stream. But now, the level of these guests had been greatly improved, which allowed her to make friends with more powerful people. This would be a great boost to the couple's career in the capital. All this was thanks to Tang Zhang, so she paid special attention to Tang Zhang and did not mind his identity as a cultivator like other people. On this point, the couple had completely reached an agreement and firmly stood on Tang Zhang's side. This decision was even a little crazy. Many competitors were waiting to see how they would be implicated by Tang Zhang in the future. All their previous efforts would be wasted, and they would plummet. The atmosphere at the table was still strange and full of danger. Li Hongqing also found the subtlety and said a few witty words from time to time, trying to adjust the atmosphere. But all of this was in vain. Yi Dingdang ate without saying a word, but she did not taste the food. She could only use this method to slightly suppress the feeling in her heart. Li Fangfei and the other 2 could not stand it anymore. Previously, they wanted to cooperate with each other, and with the help of Sinosaurus and the other 2, they could fight against Princess Anne and get back Yi Dingdang's face. But Yi Dingdang actually acted as if it had nothing to do with her. This caused them to be at a loss, but they all understood that things had really gotten out of hand. After interacting with Yi Dingdang for more than a semester, they gradually understood her character. She was usually carefree, as if she did not care about anything. But she had a bottom line in her heart. If she touched this point, it would cause a reaction like a nuclear explosion. Chapter 654. Li Fangfei and the other two immediately started to make things difficult for Tang Tangjing. Obviously, in their hearts, such a fickle man was the most despicable. Tangjing, your actions this time have seriously hurt our ding-dang. Don't you think you're a bastard? Without a doubt, these words did not have any intention of holding back. Tangjing revealed an awkward expression. The three of them did not give up as they looked at Sinosaurus and the rest meaningfully and said, "You guys are also men. Don't you think Tangjing is in the wrong?" The three of them looked around angrily and did not say anything. "Have you guys become mutes?" The three beauties were enraged. Sinosaurus and the rest looked at each other and said, "There must be a misunderstanding. Old Three is not the kind of person you're talking about." Along the way, they were stuck between their girlfriends and brothers. At this moment, they finally chose to stand on Tang Zhang's side. The other party did not expect that the three of them would suddenly betray him. They were furious and glared at them fiercely, as though they wanted to tear them into pieces. "Oh, L3, tell me, explain it clearly," Wang Shiji advised earnestly. Tang Jing also wanted to explain. Since they wanted to listen, he would let them. Seeing this, Li Fangfei and the rest said hatefully, "All right, then we'll listen to what explanation you can give. Let me tell you, no matter how good your mouth is, don't expect us to believe you." Tang Jing gave a bitter laugh and was just about to open his mouth when he saw Yi Dingdang put down her chopsticks with a pod sound. She stood up and said, "I'm done eating, so I'll take my leave first." This action was completely unexpected. Just as Tang Jing wanted to chase after her, Yi Dingdang had already walked out of the private room. The others looked at everything in a daze, especially Li Fangfei and the other two. They did not know what Yi Dingdang was up to. Tang Jing cursed inwardly. Yi Dingdang's repeated actions were too abnormal. If this continued, the two of them would really become passers-by in the future. He would never allow that to happen. "You guys eat first, I'll go after her," Tang Jing said and ran out like the wind, leaving the others looking at each other. Princess and couldn't help but feel a sense of loss. On the streets, the night wind was very strong, and traces of coldness were blowing in their faces. It was the spring of March, but it was still very cold. Especially Yi Dingdang. She felt like she had fallen into an ice cave, and her whole body was extremely cold. She heard Tang Zhang's shouts from behind her. She really wanted to stop and wait for him, but he didn't do so in the end. The trace of pride in her heart strongly suppressed this behavior. Unknowingly, the shouts disappeared. Her expression became more and more pained and depressed. He did not chase after her. She staggered back home in a daze. Tang Jing chased for a while, and in the darkness, he could vaguely see Yi Dingdang's figure. Just as he was about to speed up and chase after her, a person rushed out from the side and blocked his path. "Stop!" Marshall said sternly. His voice was bone-chilling and filled with killing intent. Tang Jing frowned and said, "Don't block me, I have something to do." Marshall was indifferent. Like a wall, he stood in front of him and said, "Follow me." "Why would I follow you?" "I'm going to chase after Dingdang." Tang Jing said snappily. If he didn't chase after her, he would lose her. Swish! Marshall did not back down. Instead, he attacked, forcing Tang Jing to take half a step back. Tang Jing flew into a rage and roared, "What exactly are you doing? I told you to follow me." Marshall repeated without any trace of politeness. "I told you, I have serious matters to attend to," Tang Jing said angrily. Marshall's eyes flickered, but in the end, he seemed to have made a huge decision. He took a deep breath and said seriously, Master and Mistress are missing. What do you mean? Tang Jing temporarily stopped. Those two were experts of the Great Grandmaster realm. How could they go missing? When I was on the phone with them, I was suddenly hung up for no reason. After that, I couldn't contact them anymore. Something must have happened to them. Don't make a big fuss out of nothing. They're so powerful, how could something happen to them? Tang Zhang said disapprovingly. If the two of them were together, they would be two experts of the Great Grandmaster realm. Who could hurt them? I have a feeling that something must have happened to them. We have to go find them. Marshall persistently advised. If you want to go, you go. I'm not going. His relationship with the two of them was very complicated. He even wanted to avoid them and was unwilling to face them. Wu Xiu raised her eyebrows and glared at him. Her height, which was similar to Tang Zhang's, made her aura exceptionally strong as she stared straight at him. They are your biological parents. This is your responsibility. Could it be that you really have the heart to see something happen to them and disappear without a trace? Marshall angrily asked. Tang Zhang was speechless. After a long while, he said, This is between me and them. You have no right to interfere. Yes, I know you hate them, but now that they are in danger, can't you put aside your prejudices? Marshall did not give him the chance to retreat. She grabbed his hand and said, As long as you agree to come with me to find them, I will follow you wholeheartedly. This body of mine belongs to you. Marshall knew that Tang Jing needed her body, so he directly used himself as a bargaining chip to exchange for it. Tang Jing was startled, he did not expect her to use herself as a bargaining chip, and asked earnestly, Are they really worth it for you to do this? Marshall nodded firmly, I was brought up by them since I was young. Without them, I would not be here today. Their position in my heart is higher than that of my parents. Looking at the eagerness and persistence in her eyes, Tang Jing knew that if he did not agree to her request, she would definitely not give up. Although he said that he did not care about the two of them, when he heard that they had disappeared, he still had a trace of worry in his heart. It was just that he did not show it. No matter how much you resent them, they are still your parents, and they still care about you. Their blood flows in your body, and no matter how much you deny it, you can't change this point. You are usually willing to help a stranger, but can't you do something for your parents? Marshall angrily asked. Tang Zhang was shaken. He looked in the direction that Yi Dingdang had disappeared in and said, All right, I'll go with you. Marshall heaved a sigh of relief. If she were to investigate alone, she would not back down. However, she understood that since her master and mistress had disappeared for no reason, it meant that they had encountered a lot of trouble this time. Her strength might not be of much use. Only by going with Tang Zhang would their chances of success be much higher. I will definitely keep my promise to you. As long as I am still alive, I will be yours. Marshall said resolutely. Tang Zhang wanted to say that he did not care about this, but before he could say anything, Marshall took the lead and rushed out. Marshall found an off-road vehicle from somewhere and drove towards the east as fast as lightning. Tang Zhang sat in the front passenger seat and dialed Yi Dingdang's number. He wanted to explain to her on the phone, but the phone rang once and was hung up. When he called again, the other party had already turned off his phone. Then he contacted his roommates and said that he had something to do and would leave for a few days, asking them to send Princess N home. The phone was very noisy. It was obvious that Li Fangfei and the others were very angry. Tang Zhang could only pretend that he did not hear anything. Marshall looked straight ahead and ridiculed, Your romantic debt is endless. Tang Zhang smiled bitterly. Aren't you one of them? Where are we going? To the east, out to sea. Out to sea. Tang Zhang was shocked, they are not on the continent, but on the sea. Otherwise, this continent is infiltrated by people from the Martial Organization and Li Palace. If you are not careful, you will be discovered. Only the boundless sea is the best place to hide the monks. Tang Jing thoughtfully nodded and said, since we are going out to sea, then I will go home. I want to bring some helpers. He did not know what dangers he would encounter at sea. Gue Qiansui and Xiao Bai had to be brought along to deal with the possible dangers. Wu understood and turned the steering wheel, causing the car to turn into a fork in the road. Not long after, they arrived at Tang Zhang's building. Xiao Bai, Gue Qiansui, follow me. Tang Zhang rushed into the house and shouted. The two fellows followed him out. On the off-road vehicle, Marshall secretly looked at Xiao Bai and Gue Qiansui. She was not unfamiliar with these two demon beasts and knew their strength. With such helpers, the chances of going out to sea should be much higher. The off-road vehicle was as fast as lightning as it drove out of the capital. At dawn, they had already arrived at the shore of the sea. There were many fishing boats docked at the dock. The two rented a fishing boat and under the roaring sound of the motor, the boatman took them to the depths of the sea. Their target was a small island in the East Sea. However, there were many islands in the East Sea. As for which one it was, Marshall did not know. The boatman was not very familiar with this area. It was only because Tang Jing gave them enough rent that they went out to sea. Marshall did not move. Like a stone statue, she sat at the bow of the boat and looked to the east. The sun shone down and the waves sparkled. Her body was bathed in the radiance. There was a different kind of beauty. Tang Jing stood beside her and asked, they did not tell us which island it was. Marshall shook her head and said, it's too dangerous. If this kind of news is leaked out, it could be a disaster for them. Without the sect master, what strength do the others have to fight against him? Tang Zheng asked puzzledly. I told you before that there is an invisible hand behind all of this. This hand is colluding with the Li Palace master and has unimaginable power. Master should also be aware of this, so after leaving the martial sect, he directly crossed the ocean and went to that small island. Marshall explained. Tang Jing frowned. He had been thinking about who the invisible hand was, but he had no clue. To be able to control the martial sect and the Li Palace, these two mysterious organizations, this hand was too powerful. He had guessed that it was the Azure Dragon Palace, but there was no direct evidence. No one even knew what kind of organization the Azure Dragon Palace was and where it was located. Chapter 655. The clouds in the sky were getting thicker and thicker, and the sun could no longer be seen. A wisp of sea breeze blew from the distant sea, bringing with it the unique salty taste of the sea, which was particularly refreshing and cool. The boatman came out from the cabin, looking at the black clouds in the sky. His face suddenly became extremely ugly, and shouted in panic, "Oh no, a storm is coming." Storm. This was the harvester of the sea. Anything in the face of a storm could be destroyed and sink to the bottom of the sea. This small fishing boat did not have much resistance in the face of a storm. We must return, otherwise we will encounter a storm and be done for. The boatman said with a sad face. No, we must continue forward. Marshall coldly refused. Beauty, we really can't. Sailing in a storm, not to mention a small boat like me, even a big boat will be in danger of capsizing at any time. The boatman said with a sad face. I said no, since you took the money, you must send us to our destination. Wu Xinyo was comforted by her master and master's wife. How could she be willing to return? Tang Jing deeply looked at her, understood her thoughts, and persuaded, Boatman, you just need to add more money, nothing will happen. Handsome, this is not a matter of money, but a matter of life. Even if you have more money, it is useless if you don't have the life to spend it. the boatman said with a sigh. Marshall was indifferent, her eyes were still firm, without the slightest hesitation. Tang Jing secretly sighed, knowing that this time they could not return, otherwise Marshall would certainly fly into a rage. Immortal, with me here, this storm will not hurt us, we can safely reach our destination. Suddenly, Gue Qiansui's voice echoed in Tang Zhang's ears. Tang Zhang was overjoyed, he almost forgot about such a powerful character like Gue Qiansui. Coming to the sea was equivalent to returning to his territory, there was nothing to worry about. Suddenly, he became more confident. But the boatman was really running out of patience. He didn't want to sink to the bottom of the sea to feed the fish. Seeing that the two of them refused to budge, he said angrily, "You have no choice but to agree. This is my boat. On the sea, I have the final say. You can only listen to me." After saying that, he turned around and rushed into the cabin. Obviously, he wanted to use the ship to resist. Whoosh! Wu jumped up from the deck and stood in front of the boatman, saying sternly, "It's not up to you now. You two little kids still want to go against me." The boatman had dark skin and a rough build. He didn't take the two of them seriously at all. However, Wu did not give him a chance to resist and struck him in the chest. The boatman clutched his chest and fell to the deck, sucking in a breath of cold air from the pain. "Stop, he is just an ordinary person." Tang Jing hurriedly stopped them, afraid that Marshall would get angry and hurt the captain. The boatman looked at the two of them in horror. He was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Tang Jing took out Gue Qiansui from his backpack. It had already shrunk to the size of an ordinary turtle. Tang Jing nodded at him and whispered, "Go, protect us and this ship. Don't worry, I promise to complete the task." Gue Qiansui jumped into the sea and soon disappeared without a trace. The boatman saw him muttering to himself as he released a small turtle into the sea. He was extremely anxious and shouted, "It's too late for you to release it now. This is a storm. Unless the Dragon King is kind, we will definitely die this time. I shouldn't have taken this risk for that little bit of money. I only have myself to blame for this." The boatman was in a daze. He kept muttering and his eyes became empty. He looked up at the black clouds in the sky. The black clouds pressed down on the city. The sky had completely turned into darkness. It was as if it had suddenly turned from day to night. A majestic pressure and momentum hit them in the face. It made them feel the power of nature. They couldn't help but revere the boundless ocean. Gotcha! There was a flash of lightning in the sky. It cut through the black clouds as if it was going to fall from the sky directly to the bow of the ship. The rumbling sound of thunder was like the sound of war drums. It was deafening and made people's blood boil. The boatman was stunned. He shrank in the corner. His face was pale. He kept muttering, "This time we are dead. Dead." Voila! The heavy rain poured down. It was as if a basin of water was poured from the sky. The world was completely occupied by the curtain of water. Waves were set off on the sea. The fishing boat swayed with the waves. It was getting more and more violent. In the distance, a huge wave was formed and swept over. All of this happened too quickly. A normal boat would have been overturned by this huge wave, not to mention a small fishing boat that was floating like duckweed. The boatman grabbed the side of the boat and looked at the approaching wave in despair. He regretted to the extreme. Tang Zhang and Marshall stood at the bow of the boat. Xiao Bai also came out of the backpack and stood on Tang Zhang's shoulder. He bared his teeth at the huge wave as if he was demonstrating. Marshall's face was pale. She had never set foot in the sea. She didn't expect the sea to be so ruthless. In the blink of an eye, such a big change happened. She turned her head to look at Tang Jing and asked, "What do we do now?" Looking at the trace of fear in her eyes, Tang Jing subconsciously grabbed her hand. She wanted to struggle but gave up the idea in an instant. Don't worry. This wave can't hurt us. It can't stop us. We will definitely reach our destination safely. Tang Jing vowed. Marshall was relieved. Fortunately, she was smart enough to get such a powerful helper. Otherwise, this trip would not be so safe. Seeing him so confident, Marshall curiously asked, "Do you have a way?" He, Gui Qian's way has already entered the water. He must have a way. Tang Jing shrugged and introduced. Marshall was no stranger to Gui Qian's way. However, she had never seen him make a move before. This time, facing such a big storm, could he really turn the tide? Tang Jing was so determined that Marshall could not raise any objections. However, her hand unconsciously grabbed the rope. Obviously, she did not know if Tang Zhang's method would work. Tang Zhang was full of confidence. He stood at the bow of the boat with his hands behind his back. Looking at the huge wave, he could clearly feel the terrifying power contained within it. In front of nature, human strength was too small. Even if he was a cultivator, he was no exception. Perhaps, this was the luck that the five-clawed golden dragon spoke of. When a small world's luck reached its end and was on the verge of destruction, all kinds of natural disasters would occur. The collision of luck in the past was one of them. If a large-scale earthquake and tsunami occurred in the world would be destroyed. This was the power of nature. If human strength wanted to contend with it, they must reach a strong enough realm. From this huge wave, Tang Jing felt this imminent matter. Fortunately, the Tree of Life had quietly absorbed the energy of the ghost realm. This way, they could avoid the destruction of this small world. Boom! The huge wave fell from the sky and hit the small fishing boat. In the next second, it was as if the small fishing boat would be smashed into pieces. Ah! The captain was hysterical. He used all his strength to scream. His eyes stared at the falling wave. His heart almost stopped beating. Boom! The huge wave fell on the fishing boat. The fishing boat remained motionless. Not even a wave hit the deck of the fishing boat. Ah! What was going on? The captain had been at sea for so many years. He had never seen such a magical scene. However, he soon found a clue. It turned out that the fishing boat was surrounded by a ray of light. It was like a protective cover covering the fishing boat. The captain was sluggish for a moment. Then, he revealed a surprised and frightened expression. He knelt on the deck. Facing the light screen, he shouted, "The dragon god has appeared. The dragon god has appeared. Thank the dragon god for not killing me. Thank you." He was incoherent. He was so excited that he could not control himself. He mistook this miracle for the dragon god. Tang Zhang's mouth hooked up into a smile. Gui Qiansui really did not brag. In this sea, he was not the absolute master. Ordinary danger really could not do anything to him. Xiao Bai jumped from Tang Zhang's left shoulder to the right. He was dancing with joy. He seemed to be very satisfied with this result. Marshall looked at Tang Zhang with a complicated look. How could he have so many divine soldiers in his hands? There was no one at the helm of the fishing boat. It went straight through the wind and waves toward the target sea area. Tang Zhang stood on the boat. He could vaguely see the turtle shell under the boat. Gui Qiansui carried the fishing boat forward. He was not afraid of the wind and waves. He passed through the storm area as fast as lightning. The sky was clear again. After traveling for a long time, a group of islands appeared in front of them. They were like pearls in the East Sea. They were beautiful and mysterious. Marshall could not hide her joy. She stretched her neck to look around. She tried to find some clues to judge which island they lived on. The captain finally came back to his senses. He looked at the handsome man and beautiful woman with mixed feelings. Previously, he looked down on them. Now, he was in fear and trepidation. You too, fortunately, the dragon god has appeared. We were lucky to survive. You two are really lucky. You actually saw the dragon god. This is a miracle that only exists in legends. When I go back, I must worship the dragon god and ask him to bless me from now on. The ship captain was very happy to have survived the calamity and started to chatter incessantly. Tang Jing smiled without batting an eyelid. He did not point out the details and said, "Do you know which island is inhabited?" Inhabited? The captain suspiciously rolled his eyes. There is nothing here. How can there be anyone living here? You must have found the wrong place. It's here. Marshall was the first to make a judgment. Tang Jing nodded. Since the captain did not know, he would search the islands one by one. He would definitely find some clues. The fishing boat docked on the beach. Tang Jing and Marshall said their goodbyes and let the captain go back by himself. Since there were people on this island, there must be a boat or other means of transportation. Therefore, he was not worried. Stepping on the fine white sand, Tang Jing and Marshall walked to the shore. This shore had not been developed. The scenery was too enchanting. Chapter 656. There were many trees in the forest that were cut in half at the waist, and there were many traces of sharp weapons on the tree trunks. There was even blood in the grass, but there were no dead or injured people. Wu's heart was already hanging in the air, his face became pale, and he quickened his pace towards the depths of the island. Tang Zhang's expression also became serious. It seemed that Wu's worries were not unnecessary. Something had really happened here. Since there are traces of a battle here, then they must be on this island. You don't have to worry too much, we will definitely find them. Tang Jing comforted her. Wu did not say a word. Wind stirred up under his feet, and in the blink of an eye, he arrived at the depths of the island. Suddenly, she stopped in her tracks and stared at the rows of houses hidden in the dense forest, her expression becoming excited. This is the architectural style of our martial sect. Wu's breathing became hurried as he flew to the front of the house and shouted loudly, "Master, mistress, where are you?" In the empty forest, there was only the sound of the wind, and no one answered. "There's no one here. Let's go in and see if there are any clues," Tang Jing suggested, and rushed into the house first. There were still many simple furniture in the house, and it was obvious that someone had lived in it before, but it was still empty. Wu immediately searched the room, but after a long while, he still shook his head in disappointment, unable to find any clues. After a while, the few of them finished searching the entire house, but they still did not find anything. Occasionally, there would be mottled bloodstains and traces of battle, but they could not explain too many things. Marshall became extremely anxious. No matter what kind of enemy it was, to be able to reach this place and leave behind such a mess, it meant that the enemy was definitely not simple. The island was not big. The two of them followed the map and searched the entire island. Other than some occasional living facilities, there was nothing else. Wu sat in front of the hut like a defeated soldier. His head was hung low, and his eyes were filled with despair. He muttered to himself, "Master, mistress, where did you go?" Tang Zhang was infected by her emotions, and could not help but become worried. He squatted down, patted her shoulder, and comforted her. Their cultivation is strong. Even if they really meet an enemy, they will still have the ability to protect themselves. Marshall shook his head in a daze and muttered, "Everything that is happening here is definitely not normal. I have absolute confidence in them, but I can't help but be a little worried." Tang Jing didn't know how to comfort him. If he encountered an enemy, he would have a real fight with the enemy. But now, he didn't even know who the enemy was. What could he do? For a moment, the atmosphere was somewhat oppressive. The forest was filled with a deathly aura that made it hard for people to breathe. Suddenly, Xiao Bai, who was lying on Tang Zheng's shoulder, pricked up his ears. He stood up and squeaked at the sky. The sky was densely packed with trees, blocking out the sun. Only the mottled sunlight shone down, making it impossible to see what was above. Seeing Xiao Bai's abnormal state, Tang Zheng's nerves immediately tensed up. He subconsciously got up and looked up. He couldn't see anything useful. Xiao Bai became irritable. Her little claws kept slapping Tang Zheng's head, her little eyes filled with anxiety. Tang Zheng had never seen it like this before. He cried out in his heart and pulled the still dejected marshal, shouting loudly, "There's danger, let's leave this place first." As soon as he finished speaking, a hurried whistling sound came from the sky. Boom! The mountains shook as if there was an earthquake. Dust flew everywhere, and many trees turned into debris. A pungent smoke rose into the air, blocking the line of sight in front of them. Tang Zheng could not stand steadily and directly fell with Marshall. Pressing down on her soft body, he could clearly feel the astonishing elasticity of her body. However, he was not in the mood to enjoy the beauty's grace, because through the smoke, he could vaguely see a huge crater not far away. Explosion. Just now, it was actually a bomb that fell from the sky that caused the explosion. The two of them were affected by the shockwave, causing them to be in such a sorry state. The thing that whistled through the air was the cannonball. Xiao Bai's senses were much sharper than a human's, so he was the first to discover the abnormality. Fortunately, the cannonball did not hit where they were standing, otherwise, even if they did not die, they would still lose a layer of skin. After surviving a calamity, other than rejoicing, Tang Zheng was also puzzled. Why would there be a cannonball on an island in the vast sea? Xiji! Xiao Bai cried out again, this time with an even more anxious voice, jumping up and down on Tang Zheng's shoulder. Tang Zheng knew that the situation was bad. He immediately carried Marshall and stood up. Without hesitation, he used the earth-shrinking technique and rushed out of the island. Boom! 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 A series of earth-shattering explosions sounded out behind them. The scorching heat wave seemed to want to roast people, but Tang Zheng's speed did not slow down in the slightest. When he turned around, the forest had already turned into a sea of fire, as if it was hell on earth. The tranquil scenery just now was destroyed. He was extremely angry in his heart. Which bastard actually shot him with a cannonball? Whiz! He was like a gust of wind that rushed out of the forest and arrived at the shore. A cool sea breeze blew over, counteracting the scorching heat. However, he did not rashly rush to a conspicuous place. Instead, he dodged and hid behind a large rock. Wu was still in his embrace. Their bodies were tightly pressed against each other, and her chest was unreservedly pressed against his chest, causing it to change shape. Her cheeks couldn't help but flush red. Although the two of them had already had a few skin contact, every time she came into contact with Tang Zheng so intimately, her heart would beat rapidly, like a little deer jumping around. Tang Zheng did not have the slightest bit of romantic thoughts, because the situation in front of him was too strange. He looked at Wu with concern and comforted her, "With me here, don't worry, I won't let anyone hurt you." This sentence fiercely hit Wu's heart. The blush on her face became more and more obvious. She reluctantly left his embrace, looking at the sea of fire in the forest. Her brows immediately wrinkled, and said, "Who did all this?" "Humph, no matter who it is, since they bombarded this island, they are our target. Just now we were worried that we would not be able to find the enemy, but now the enemy has automatically appeared. It is convenient for us to follow the vine to find the melon." Tang Jing coldly said. Then where is the enemy? Wu immediately asked. Tang Jing looked up. The sea was vast and boundless, but there was no ship or enemy. Could it be, just now it was an air raid? Looking up at the sky, there was no shadow of the plane. Just when he was at a loss, a wave surged up on the shore, a small head popped out, and then a turtle shell also floated out of the water, crawling towards the two people. Tang Zheng was overjoyed, and shouted, Gue Qiansui, over here. After a while, Gue Qiansui crawled to the two people's side and said, Immortal, there was an enemy just now. You saw it. Who is it? Tang Zheng was ecstatic. He was worried about not having a target, but unexpectedly Gue Qiansui found it. Previously when the two people went ashore, Gue Qiansui stayed in the sea and did not follow them into the forest. It is a big ship, a very big ship. Gue Qiansui said, the big ship has already sailed to the east. Then let's chase it, don't let it escape. Gue Qiansui confidently said, Immortal, please rest assured, the enemy cannot escape, I have sent the pursuers to follow it. This vast sea is Gue Qiansui's backyard, he always has a lot of methods. Chase! The two people directly jumped on Gue Qiansui's turtle shell. Gue Qiansui's body automatically grew, like a small boat, carrying the two people into the sea. The two people stood on the turtle shell against the wind, moving forward quickly, as if the two people were walking on the waves, extraordinarily elegant. If someone saw this scene, they would be shocked and treat them as immortals. Gue Qiansui crawled very slowly on land, but in the sea, he was like a fish in water, quickly moving forward, splashing waves beside him. From time to time, a school of fish swam by. This kind of enjoyment really has a special charm. This was the first time Marshall experienced this kind of situation. He could not help but feel a little bit of waves in his heart, but Tang Jing, on the other hand, had a serious face, staring straight ahead. This sea area is the international sea. There are ships from all countries. It is a busy sailing line, but for the time being, no other ships have been found, otherwise, they will be frightened by this scene. The sun from the sky to the sea level a little bit, the sea was sparkling, it was exceptionally beautiful, making people feel the charm of the sea. In the distance, a huge outline suddenly came into view. Tang Zheng's pupils suddenly shrank, staring at it. Immortal, that is the target. Gue Qiansui reminded. Chase it. Tang Zheng ordered. Gue Qiansui rolled up a wave, as fast as lightning, gradually narrowing the distance with the target. The target also gradually enlarged in Tang Zheng's pupils, becoming clear and three-dimensional. Suddenly, his breathing quickened as he exclaimed, a warship. How could this be as simple as a large ship? It was actually a colossal warship. Compared to it, Tang Zheng and the others were like tiny dots. Gue Qiansui, is this the thing that fired the cannonball to attack us? Tang Zheng asked. Yes, Immortal, this is the culprit. Xiao Bai also understood this. He bared his teeth at the warship, as if he wanted to spit out a flame to burn it. No wonder Master and Master's wife have no news. In front of such a powerful firepower, the strength of a person will be insignificant. Marshall suddenly realized, angry. Which country's warship is this? Tang Zheng looked at the flag on the warship. A round sun flag impressively came into view. Island Nation. Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows. This was truly a case of enemies meeting each other. He had too many conflicts with the island country, and in the past, he had always met a group of martial artists. He never thought that he would meet the other party's regular army this time. Island Nation, why did they attack Master and Master's wife? Marshall also recognized the target, flew into a rage. Chapter 657. In the night, Gue Qiansui quietly approached the warship with two people on his back. Suddenly, the siren sounded loudly, and the headlights directly shot in the direction of Tangjing, illuminating the dark sea as if it was daytime. A series of Japanese words came from the warship. The two people acted as if they didn't hear it, but urged Gue Qiansui to speed up. In the blink of an eye, they came to the warship. For ordinary people, the warship, which was tens of meters high, was like a cliff, like a natural moat. But for these two people, it was as if they were walking on flat ground. They grabbed the anchor and quickly climbed up. There were loud curses on the warship, and bullets were shot down from the side of the ship. However, the two people used the hull as a shield, so the bullets couldn't hurt them. "Be careful when you go up," Tangjing reminded them with concern. Wu nodded, and the two people jumped up into the air and flipped over to the deck of the warship. The deck was already full of armed officers and soldiers. When they saw the figure, they immediately pulled the trigger, and the bullets whistled, directly greeting the two people. Tangjing took the lead. The dragon trapping rope quickly rotated and turned into a shield. The bullets hit ding-dang on the shield, but couldn't hurt the two people. Tangjing was like a ferocious tiger, staring at one of the enemy's officers. As the saying goes, one must first capture the leader to capture the bandits. The enemy had many people, so if they continued to shoot, then there would be no way to play. "I'm going to catch them, you be careful," Tangjing ordered in a low voice, and like a fierce tiger, he pounced into the enemy. "Baka!" Island nation's angry voice rose one after another. They all wanted to stop Tangjing, but Tangjing's personal strength was too strong. In this chaotic battle, although the other side had many people, they couldn't do anything to him. Moreover, several soldiers fired in a hurry, and mistakenly injured their companions. The other party was not stupid. Tangjing's reckless attack was quickly seen through. Immediately, the soldiers volunteered to stop Tangjing and prevent him from hurting the officer. The officer also retreated in a panic. Finally, he retreated to the cabin door and closed it with a bang. The thick cabin door completely isolated Tangjing from the outside, as if they were in two different worlds. "Damn it!" Tangjing cursed in a low voice. He turned around and faced the soldiers who were charging forward bravely. These people seemed to be in a frenzy, as if they were not afraid of death. Tangjing's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he said, "Since you're courting death, don't blame me for being merciless." Tangjing was enraged and began his counterattack. Immediately, a figure as fast as lightning could be seen shuttling through the crowd. Everywhere he went, someone would fall. At the same time, Marshall was not idle either. Her attacks were even more ruthless than Tangjing's. She was merciless and ruthless. Wherever she went, blood would dye the ground red. After a while, there were no soldiers left standing on the deck. Those soldiers who were lucky enough to survive and were injured on the ground looked at the two of them as if they had seen ghosts. They all muttered in the language of the island nation as if they were talking to themselves. "Master and mistress are most likely locked up on the warship. We have to rush down," Marshall said resolutely. Tangjing nodded. The two of them arrived at the cabin door. The thick and heavy cabin door did not move at all. Even after Tangjing punched it, it only shook a little. Humph, you want to use this piece of scrap metal to stop me? Wishful thinking." Tangjing curled his lips in disdain. A light flashed in his hand and the War Soul sword appeared. Clang! The War Soul sword slashed onto the cabin door. Sparks flew in all directions and a huge cut appeared. When the other soldiers saw the power of this sword, they were shocked. It was as if the people who were cursing all shut their mouths. This was already beyond their scope of understanding. Clang, clang, clang. Tangjing continued to brandish the War Soul sword. The sword light and sparks intertwined and the slash grew larger and larger. Suddenly, there was a sound of silk tearing and a large hole was created in the cabin door. It was enough for people to pass through. Let's go in. Tang Zheng had just raised his leg and was about to step in when he hurriedly retracted his head. He dodged to the side and a cold light flew past his cheek. Expert! Tang Zheng and Marshall shouted at the same time. This attack was not an ammunition attack, but a dart. It was even more lethal than a bullet. Baka! An angry roar came from the cabin door. A person rushed out. The cold light that filled the sky directly greeted Tang Zheng and Marshall. Tang Zheng was not in a hurry to dodge. Instead, he waved the War Soul sword and blocked all the hidden weapons. From beginning to end, Marshall did not move. Even her feet did not move at all. She knew that these hidden weapons would not be able to pass through Tang Zheng. She stared at the uninvited guest and shouted, "Martial artist, he's a martial artist. Baka, are you people from Huaxia?" The other party could actually understand Huaxia language and asked in a stiff Huaxia language, "You people from Huaxia actually attacked our island nation's warship. This is a declaration of war, this is war. We will definitely trample your country like we did decades ago." The other party was unable to restrain his anger as he continued to clamor. The arrogance and pride on his face were undeniable. Tang Zheng stared at him in ridicule and said, "Nonsense. Do you think that Huaxia is still the weak Huaxia from 100 years ago? You island nation people still want to invade Huaxia. I'll kill you first." As soon as he finished speaking, Tang Zheng had already attacked the other party. This person was indeed a martial artist with a cultivation of the second stage of the pre-celestial stage. He was not weak, but in front of Tang Zheng, he was still too weak. Before he could even withstand 5 moves from Tang Zheng, the War Soul sword was pressed against his throat and he was captured. The other party was defeated, but his arrogance did not weaken in the slightest. Instead, he shouted arrogantly, not putting Tang Zheng in his eyes at all. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed with killing intent as he said disdainfully, "A group of arrogant and conceited fellows, still living in the dream of 100 years ago, thinking that they are number one in the world." The strength in his hand burst forth. Tang Zheng was prepared to kill the other party, but Wu hurriedly stopped him. "Interrogate him first. Do you know where my master and mistress are?" "Right, I almost forgot. Don't even think about getting any information out of me. Even if you beat me to death, I won't say anything." The other party resolutely raised his head and looked at the two of them arrogantly. Tang Zheng laughed coldly and said, "Who said I need you to speak?" With that, his 5 fingers grabbed the other party's head. The other party revealed a puzzled expression, and even Wu had a suspicious look on his face. There is a type of spell called the soul-searching technique. Any of his secrets will be revealed in front of the soul-searching technique. Tang Zheng explained. Wu suddenly came to a realization, but the people of the island nation were still shrouded in fog, not knowing what he meant. But in the next second, he knew that something was wrong. He had a splitting headache, as if his head was about to explode. He screamed hysterically. The screams came to an abrupt end. His eyes turned dull and white. He had already turned into an idiot. This was the after effect of the soul-searching technique. As a result, Tang Zheng would not easily use it. However, he did not feel the slightest bit of psychological pressure when using this technique on the people of the island nation. Compared to the invasion war of the past, this method was negligible. How is it? Wu was also shocked by the reaction of the people of the island nation. His heart couldn't help but beat faster. Tang Zheng frowned, shook his head with a puzzled expression, and said, "You didn't find any information about them?" "Ah, how could this be? They came to attack the island, how could they not know about master and mistress?" Marshall said in disbelief, "Cast this spell again and see if you missed out on this information." "No need, the soul-searching technique won't miss any information." Tang Zheng was full of confidence, it seems that he really doesn't know. Wu's face revealed a look of despair as he muttered to himself, "Master, mistress, where exactly are you? Don't worry, although we don't know their whereabouts, we still have other news. They were ordered to bomb this island. As long as we find out who gave the order, we will definitely know the reason." Tang Jing added. "Who gave the order?" "Island Nation's royal family." "Royal family?" Wu was stunned. "Yes, do you dare to break into Island Nation's royal family?" Wu's face revealed a determined look as he fearlessly said, "Why wouldn't I dare? For master and mistress, even if it's a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, I dare to break into it." "Hee, you have guts. Then let's deal with that officer and leave this place." Tang Jing pointed at the military who was holed up at the cabin door and said with a smile. That officer looked as if he had seen a ghost, turned around and ran. "Want to run? It's too late." Tang Jing moved his feet and kicked a hidden weapon on the ground, which whistled through the air and shot into the officer's back. The officer staggered and fell to the ground. After struggling for a while, he completely stopped moving. "Let's go." The two jumped down from the side of the ship and steadily landed on Gue Qiansui's back. Looking up at the tall ship, Tang Jing frowned and said, "We almost died under its cannon fire. If we let it go, it would be too easy for it." "Then what are you going to do?" Tang Jing had an idea and said, "Just watch." Taking out the heaven-shocking bow and the shooting sun arrow, he opened the bow and pulled the arrow. With a buzzing sound, the bowstring trembled and the shooting sun arrow left the string. A huge black hole appeared at the bottom of the ship and the seawater crazily poured into the black hole. Sinking to the bottom of the sea, naturally you can't show off anymore. Tang Jing said. Xiao Bai leaped and jumped into the sea. After a while, it swam back with the shooting sun arrow in its mouth. Tang Jing stroked its little head and praised it, then urged Gue Qiansui to leave. A large amount of seawater poured in, causing the warship to tilt and sink bit by bit. With a rumbling sound, it directly fell into the sea and quickly sank to the bottom of the sea. A passenger ship came from afar and recorded the scene of the warship sinking to the bottom of the sea, especially the sun flag. Not long after, the video spread all over the internet. Island Nation's warship sinking into the sea was undoubtedly a slap to the island nation's face. In these years, the island nation had risen again, especially in terms of military strength. Their development was rapid, and many island nation people had already claimed to be the strongest country in Asia, clamoring for other Asian countries to submit to them. The sinking of the warship immediately caused a huge uproar on the internet and became the target of ridicule for netizens from various countries. Chapter 658. Tang Jing did not know that his impulsive action had caused such an uproar. Even if he knew there would be such a consequence, he would still do it and would be happier. He was happy to see the island nation lose face. He didn't have a good impression of this country and its people. Gue Qiansui carried the two and cut through the waves. He deliberately avoided the busy route and quietly entered the island nation's sea and finally landed in a remote place. For Tang Jing, smuggling was so simple. Before this, he had never been to the island nation. He was not familiar with this place. Marshall looked at him with eager eyes, clearly wanting him to make a decision. Tang Jing had no choice but to say, "Let's find someone to inquire." The two did not speak the island nation's language, but they spoke English, which was an international language. When the two came to a busy area, they pretended to be tourists and asked about the location of the island nation's royal family. They did not expect that this was not a secret, and soon they got the result. The island nation's royal family lived in the center of the bustling Tokyo. It was composed of three parts: the East Imperial Court, the Outer Court, and the square in front of the Imperial Court. The island nation people were used to calling it the Imperial Court. Some of the Imperial Courts were even open to tourists for sightseeing. Are we going to break into the imperial court directly? Wu asked. This is their territory. We can't be reckless. If we are not careful, they will find out. If the hostage is in their hands, they will definitely kill us. Since the imperial court is open to the public, we will be tourists and go there. Tang Zheng made up his mind. Wu thought for a while and nodded. The two pretended to be a couple and came to Tokyo. For others, this trip may expose their whereabouts, but for them, there was no such problem. They did not stay in a hotel and did not leave any trace. Even if something happened in the future, the other side could not find them. After experiencing this trip, Tang Zheng finally found the reaction caused by his previous action. He wondered if he should do more of this kind of thing in the future, and hit the island nation's arrogance. Tokyo. Tang Zheng and Marshall had already followed the crowd and entered the Imperial Palace. The Imperial Palace did not have a large area for tourists to visit, and it was not easy to sneak into the important places of the Imperial Palace because there were people in charge of every key place. What should we do? Marshall asked again. Unknowingly, she had become accustomed to listening to Tang Zheng's decisions when she was with him. Tang Zheng looked at the tightly guarded Kokyo from afar. There were no blind spots in the Kokyo surveillance system. There were people and cameras everywhere. It would not be easy for Tang Zheng to sneak in. Previously, he didn't expect the other party's defense to be so tight. Now, he couldn't think of a way. Right at this moment, a group of people walked over from afar. This group of people had extraordinary auras, and there were experts hidden among them. Tang Zheng recognized them with a single glance. All of a sudden, his pupils constricted as he stared at a face in the crowd. He was very familiar with this face as they had spent a period of time together. Marshall also saw this person. His expression suddenly changed and he wanted to rush over. Tang Zheng reacted quickly and pulled her back. He advised her in a low voice, "Don't move, this is someone else's territory." Wu Shuang's eyes lit up as he said excitedly, "Holy Maiden of Li Palace, since she is here, then the matter between master and mistress must be related to Li Palace. I want to ask her clearly." That familiar face was the Holy Maiden of Li Palace, Li Xiaotian. To be honest, Tang Zheng was also shocked by the other party's arrival. How could the Li Palace have a connection with the island nation's royal family? Are your martial sect and Li Palace very close to the island nation? Tang Zheng asked, puzzled. Nonsense, the martial sect and Li Palace are like mortal enemies with the island nation. Back then, when the island nation launched an invasion, both sides fought many times and both sides suffered casualties. It could be said that they have formed a blood feud. Marshall said fiercely, but her tone was also filled with doubt. With her experience, Li Xiaotian should not be mixed up with the island nation's royal family. But the scene in front of her could not be fake. In this world, there are no eternal enemies, only eternal benefits. The battle back then has already been over for decades and many people have already chosen to forget it. For the sake of benefits, many people will not care about the enmity of the past. Tang Zheng explained. The more he interacted with those so-called successful people, the more obvious this feeling became. For the sake of benefits, they would do anything. As long as the price was right, anything could be given up, not to mention the war and hatred that they did not personally experience decades ago. Marshall was indignant and reprimanded, "This is forgetting your ancestors." Tang Zheng shook his head and sighed. This was the reality. While they were talking, Li Xiaotian and his group had already passed the guards and entered the Imperial Palace, disappearing from their sight. Letting her run away like this is too unreconciled. Marshall hatefully said. Tang Zheng patted her shoulder and comforted her, "Since she came here, it means that this matter is related to the Li Palace. We are not looking in the wrong direction. She entered the Imperial Palace, but she cannot stay inside forever. We will wait for her outside." Marshall looked at the center of the imperial palace from afar, helplessly and unwillingly nodded his head. The tour time for the tourists was over. Tang Zhang and Marshall walked out with the others and left the imperial palace. The two of them did not go far. They hid in a corner far away, observing the movements of the imperial palace. As night fell, the imperial palace seemed especially quiet and beautiful. All kinds of buildings in the darkness showed the majesty of the imperial power. Tang Jing vaguely remembered that the tour guide had mentioned that the imperial palace was a relic left behind from the ancient times. Now that it had become the residence of the imperial family, if he could set the imperial palace on fire, the commotion would definitely surpass the silence of the warship. It would definitely be able to deal a heavy blow to the island nation. This kind of heavy blow would be mental and reputation. The reputation of the island nation's imperial family would definitely be ruined. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. He wanted nothing more than to rush up and start a fire. But he quickly calmed down. If the imperial palace was so easy to set on fire, then it would not be the imperial palace. The other party would definitely have a complete fire-fighting strategy and equipment. Moreover, the imperial palace occupied a large area. If one place was set on fire, the other places would not necessarily be affected. Look, someone is coming out. Marshall touched Tang Zhang's arm and reminded him in a low voice. Tang Zhang looked up and saw a group of people walking out of the imperial palace. One of them was the target, Li Xiaotian. They got on the car and drove into the night. Chase. In the bustling city, the speed of the car was not fast. The two of them hid in the night and followed from afar. Take advantage of the fact that they are weak and capture her. You can use your soul-searching technique again and everything will be revealed. Marshall suggested. Tang Zhang looked at the cars and pedestrians passing through the traffic and rejected this suggestion. This was a place to cause trouble. If they were to attack here, it would definitely cause a commotion. Li Xiaotian would not allow herself to be captured without a fight. If she was careless and let her escape, it would not be easy to find her again. Moreover, if the commotion was too big, the officials of the island nation would not sit idly by. If the reinforcements continued to arrive, even if it was a human wave tactic, Tang Zheng would not be able to handle it. For the sake of safety, he absolutely could not act rashly. Follow them first and see where they go. Tang Zheng said. The car drove through the bustling streets. The buildings on both sides became fewer and fewer, and the people became fewer and fewer. Marshall couldn't help but want to make a move a few times, but was persuaded by Tang Zheng. In front of them, a resort villa that occupied an aurora came into view. Under the cover of the beautiful cherry blossoms, the villa was exceptionally beautiful. The car quietly drove into the villa and closed the door, blocking their line of sight. Go in. This time, Tang Zheng did not hesitate. He and Marshall hid under the walls of the villa, avoided the surveillance cameras, and easily climbed in. Let's split up and look for them. Remember not to act rashly after finding them. Inform me, and then we will secretly capture Li Xiaotian and interrogate him for the details. Tang Zheng warned. Marshall nodded and impatiently disappeared into the night. It had to be said that the scenery of this villa was very beautiful. The buildings were also ancient, as if they had traveled back to ancient times. The air was filled with the fragrance of cherry blossoms, making people feel refreshed. The night gave Tang Zheng the best cover. He went deeper and deeper into the villa and found that there were many people living in the villa. Moreover, this was a hot spring villa. He had already passed by a few hot springs, and the people inside were soaking in the hot springs. There were many beauties among them, and of course, there were also men and women mixed in the hot springs. Finally, he saw a person respectfully retreat from a house from afar. This was a familiar face. Previously, he was with Li Xiaotian. Looking at his respectful attitude just now, there must be someone important living in this house. That is most likely Li Xiaotian. Tang Jing guessed. He tiptoed closer to the house, not daring to make a single sound. With Li Xiaotian's cultivation, any slight movement would not be able to escape her ears. He did not want to alert the enemy. Listening carefully, there was the sound of water splashing in the room. Other than that, there was nothing else. No matter who is inside, let's sneak in and take a look first. He felt his way under a window. The window was not locked. He opened the window a crack and peeked inside. The room was luxuriously decorated, but he did not see anyone. However, the sound of running water was particularly clear. Whiz! He was like a ghost, quietly flipping through the window. The house was very big. In front of him stood a huge screen. Wisps of water vapor were emitted from behind the screen. The sound of water also came from behind the screen. Tang Jing quietly came in front of the screen. There was a lot of mist behind the screen, blocking his line of sight. The sound of water splashing could be heard in front of him. Chapter 659. A naked woman was leaning against the edge of the pool. Dense steam lingered around her body, as if she was a fairy in a fairyland. Her skin was white with a hint of rosy, delicate. Her long, silky hair draped over her shoulders like a waterfall, forming a stark contrast with her snow-white skin. More than half of her upper body was submerged in the water, revealing half of her towering breasts. Their reflections in the water were like two mountain peaks, exceptionally alluring. She squinted her eyes, enjoying the effect of the warm pool water. Tang Zheng's heart could not help but tremble as he looked at the beauty in the pool in surprise. She was indeed beautiful, even more beautiful than when she was wearing normal clothes, making people unable to help but feel a rush of excitement. Tang Zheng's head was very disappointing. He had a feeling of restlessness, and the suppressed pure yang energy seemed to show signs of erupting again. He quickly took a few deep breaths and circulated his energy, suppressing the restlessness in his heart. His eyes became cold. This was a flower with thorns. If he was not careful, he would be stung. Tang Jing did not want to be a dissolute ghost under this flower. Suddenly, Li Xiaotian's eyelids trembled. She suddenly opened her eyes and turned to look at Tang Jing. Tang Jing cursed in his heart. When he took a deep breath, there was a slight movement, which was noticed by the other party. Degree C. He did not have time to think. He slid to Li Xiaotian's side and looked down from above. He could clearly see her body and even the blurry scenery in the pool. Li Xiaotian's eyes flashed with a cold light. When she saw that it was Tang Jing, she could not hide her surprise. Her reaction was not slow either. She slapped the side of the pool with her palm, causing thousands of water droplets to fly out of the pool. She slapped her palm towards Tang Jing. Tang Jing made the first move. With a flip of his hands, both of his palms struck out. Pang! Li Xiaotian took this palm and flew backwards. Only a beautiful figure was left in the air. She was completely naked and extremely alluring. Tang Jing gave chase. With a tap of his toes, he leaped into the air above the pond. Li Xiaotian was in mid-air. He hooked his toes upwards and hung on the chandelier on the ceiling. Looking down from above, he kicked Tang Jing. She was not wearing a single piece of clothing, and this movement was very large. Her long legs kicked out, and every part of her body was completely exposed to Tang Jing's line of sight. That curvaceous body caused Tang Jing's blood vessels to expand, and his heart failed to live up to his expectations as it fiercely beat. Pure yang energy quickly circulated in his meridians. Tang Jing gritted his teeth and held on. He struck out like lightning and repelled the opponent's attack. Then, he grabbed one of her legs and pulled it down. Voila! The two of them fell from the sky into the pool together, splashing water everywhere. They still didn't stop and continued to fight in the pool. Li Xiaotian's cultivation was not as good as Tang Zhang's. After a few rounds, it was obvious that she was losing. However, Tang Zhang definitely didn't have it easy. This was because not only did he have to fight Li Xiaotian, he also had to suppress the pure yang energy in his body. Li Xiaotian was naked. Every time they fought, Tang Zhang could see the tempting scenery. Occasionally, there would even be skin-to-skin contact. This didn't seem like a battle, but more like flirting. Little by little, it aroused Tang Zhang's desire. Li Xiaotian, on the other hand, acted as if nothing had happened. She didn't seem to have any psychological barriers. It was as if she was fighting Tang Zhang with her clothes on. There wasn't a trace of shyness on her face. Li Xiaotian launched another attack. Tang Zhang quickly dodged. Then, he reached out with his hand and grabbed the opponent's shoulder. Then, he firmly restrained her. The battle finally came to an end. At this moment, Li Xiaotian was leaning on Tang Zhang's chest. Her body was tightly hugged by Tang Zhang. Tang Zhang's arm was placed across her chest and fiercely pressed down. Her chest was directly flattened. The astonishing elasticity was like a flame that stirred up Tang Zhang's arm. Both of their breathing was a little hurried. The warm pool water caused their bodies to rapidly heat up. Li Xiaotian's breath was like orchids. Her face became more and more delicate, making people unable to resist kissing her. Suddenly, she rolled her eyes and giggled. Tang Zhang, you actually came all the way to an island nation for me. You even took advantage of me soaking in the hot spring to ambush me. You really are a big baddie. Her laughter was charming. It was as if there was a soul-stirring magic that made people's hearts palpitate. Tang Zhang's face was ashen. He said, "Don't flatter yourself. We can be considered to be acquaintances. Honestly, answer a few of my questions. Then I will leave immediately." "Well, I've always told you everything I know, and all my secrets are open to you," Li Xiaotian said in a sweet voice. Tang Zhang coldly snorted. He knew that this two-faced woman's words could not be trusted. He threatened, "You know that I am a cultivator. I know a spell called the soul-searching technique. If you don't honestly answer, then I can also use the soul-searching technique on you to find the answer I want. But in that way, you will become an idiot." Idiot? Wow, you have no conscience. You are too cruel. We went through fire and water together. How can you bear to treat me like this? Don't use this trick to deal with me. This trick is useless against me. Tang Zhang righteously said. Hee, is that so? Li Xiaotian's eyes were full of charm. Her body slightly moved, rubbing against Tang Zhang's body. This soul-stirring body had too much magic. It immediately made Tang Zhang feel as if he had fallen into a pit of fire. His whole body was unbearably hot. His body could not help but have a reaction. Li Xiaotian's body slightly stiffened. She clearly felt the changes in Tang Zhang's body. Then she smiled charmingly. Didn't you say it was useless? I think it is very useful. Tang Zhang was embarrassed. His cheeks involuntarily turned red. He cursed in his heart. He was really useless. How could there be a reaction? This was a big embarrassment. Li Xiaotian seemed to be encouraged. She rubbed more and more vigorously. Tang Zhang's clothes had already become wet. There was not much of a blocking effect. He rubbed against Li Xiaotian's naked body. The taste was particularly ecstatic. You are playing with fire. Do you know that? Tang Zhang angrily said. Hee, is that so? Then I want to see how big this fire can be ignited. Li Xiaotian did not care in the slightest. The veins on Tang Zhang's forehead bulged. As a man, especially a man who was on the verge of erupting with pure yang energy, this kind of feeling was truly torturous. But he knew what kind of person Li Xiaotian was. If he had a relationship with her, it was really courting death. He could go to King Yama at any time. I don't believe I can't control you. With a thought, Tang Zhang used the body-locking technique. Li Xiaotian's body suddenly stiffened, and then she was unable to move. Whoosh! Tang Zhang finally let out a sigh of relief. He turned in front of Li Xiaotian and stared straight at her. What did you do to me? I told you to be honest, but you didn't listen. So I can only use this method. Li Xiaotian's eyes flashed with disappointment. As the holy maiden of Li Palace, she had to learn too many things. The people of Li Palace had a deep-rooted enmity towards men, but that did not mean that they did not understand men. On the contrary, they understood men very well, especially their most basic desires. Li Xiaotian had learned martial arts from a young age, and also the art of charm. It was just that she had never had the opportunity to use it on anyone. Just now, when she was caught by Tang Zhang, she did not panic. Instead, she used her art of charm. In this kind of situation, when the two were almost completely sincere, it was a unique opportunity to use her art of charm. However, under the influence of pure yang energy, Tang Zhang still held on to his heart and protected the trace of clarity in his mind. It had to be said that at his age, to be able to do this required a great deal of willpower and courage. The failure of her art of charm made Li Xiaotian feel a sense of defeat. Losing in the first battle was a blow to her heart. However, she did not completely give up. She was a person who would not give up even at the last moment. She knew that Tang Zhang was a kind person. Back then, the two of them had experienced so many things together. It could be said that they had gone through trials and tribulations together. He probably would not harm her life. She was very surprised that Tang Zhang would appear here, and was even more curious about his goal. Li Xiaotian, why did you come to the island nation? Tang Zhang asked straightforwardly. Traveling. Li Xiaotian blinked her eyes. Don't people say that the cherry blossoms of the island nation are very beautiful? This period of time happens to be when the cherry blossoms are blooming, so I came to appreciate the exotic scenery. Tang Zhang's eyelids twitched. He took a step closer, his cheek almost touching her face, and said, You don't even have a draft when you lie. Looking at cherry blossoms, do you really think I'm a 3-year-old child? Hee, of course you're not a 3-year-old child. Do you think a 3-year-old child has the ability to do that? Li Xiaotian smiled again. Her eyes unscrupulously looked at Tang Zhang's lower body. Tang Zhang was incomparably embarrassed. Just now, he lost control of himself and became the target of her ridicule. He pretended that he did not hear anything and continued to ask, Who did you go to the imperial palace to see? What exactly did you collude with the island nation's royal family? Li Xiaotian's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. Clearly, she did not expect that Tang Zhang would know about her relationship with the island nation's royal family. However, she immediately returned to normal. She playfully blinked and asked, What do you think? Tang Zhang felt a headache coming on. Dealing with this woman was completely different from dealing with other people. She was like a slippery loach. He did not know where to start. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Don't blame me for being ruthless and using the soul-searching technique on you. Don't. Look at how pitiful I am. How can you have the heart to treat me like that? If you want to know, I'll tell you. Li Xiaotian hurriedly said. That's for the best. Tang Zhang let out a sigh of relief. If he had no other choice, He really did not want to treat her like that. The emperor has a strange illness. I have a way to treat it, so of course they treat me as a guest of honor. The emperor is sick. Tang Zheng was incomparably shocked. This was explosive news. The outside world definitely does not know about this situation, right? Of course. The emperor is a symbol of the island nation. Especially this generation's emperor. He has a lot of prestige among the people. If the people know that he is sick, it will definitely cause quite a disturbance. It may even cause the island nation's political situation to become unstable. Li Xiaotian said. Tang Zheng's heart moved. Since this was the case, then this news should be made public. Li Xiaotian looked at him without blinking. She chuckled and said, "Actually, I have the same idea as you." Tang Zheng was startled and said, "How did you know what I was thinking?" Chapter 660. Tang Zheng was truly shocked by Li Xiaotian's words. He couldn't help but look at her in shock. "Don't look at me like that. I'm not familiar with the island nation's emperor. Moreover, that war killed so many of our people. Some people thought that everyone had forgotten about it, but they didn't know that someone still remembers it." Tang Zheng couldn't see through her. He originally thought that Li Xiaotian was colluding with the island nation's royal family. He didn't think that she would have such thoughts. "What kind of illness does he have?" Tang Zheng curiously asked. "I don't know the exact situation yet, but it's definitely not an ordinary illness. Moreover, this kind of illness is very secretive. It's not suitable to announce it to the public." Li Xiaotian blinked and smiled meaningfully. "Didn't you go to the imperial palace today? How could you not know? You can't be so naive as to think that I can understand everything just by going to the imperial palace. I'm still an outsider. Wouldn't the island nation's people be on guard against me? To tell you the truth, I didn't even see the emperor today." Tang Zheng's brows furrowed as he fell into deep thought. Things had taken a sudden turn and turned out like this. His original target was his own parents, but now this matter had popped up. He stared at Li Xiaotian, trying to discern the truth in her words. In the end, he realized that it was all in vain. Li Xiaotian's shrewdness was too deep. How could it be so easy to see through her? "You don't believe me?" Li Xiaotian seemed to have seen through his doubts and asked with a smile. Tang Zheng snorted and didn't comment. He then asked, "What is the relationship between the Li Palace and the martial organization?" Back then, the Li Palace's palace master, Grandma Li, helped the martial organization's great elder to usurp the throne. The relationship between the two was not shallow, but he couldn't figure out the relationship between the two. Li Xiaotian was slightly surprised. She couldn't help but laugh. "Why do you care about this question? I'm the one asking the question, not you. Just obediently answer it." Tang Zheng purposely said with a straight face. "Don't be so fierce, hee." Li Xiaotian laughed. "Actually, you have to ask the palace master about this, because as far as I know, the two sides don't have a close relationship. It seems that you were also kept in the dark." Tang Zheng did not think so. A strange look flashed across Li Xiaotian's face as he said, "Don't listen to the words of others. Then do you know about the martial sect leader? I heard that he betrayed the martial organization, and then disappeared into thin air. You are a cultivator, why are you so concerned about the martial organization?" Li Xiaotian asked curiously. The relationship between Wu Junshan and Tang Zheng was a secret. It was related to the reputation of the martial arts sect. Granny Li and the first elder had strictly forbidden it to be spread. Therefore, even Li Xiaotian did not know about it. Tang Zheng's expression kept changing as she stared at Li Xiaotian. There wasn't the slightest difference between her brows. Could it be that this time she really didn't come for Wu Junshan, but for the emperor of the island nation? Tang Zheng could not find the exact answer. I've answered all your questions. Can you let me go now? Could it be that you want to keep looking at my body like this? Hee, when I was by your side, why didn't you tell me that you liked my body so much? Who knows, I might even fulfill your wish. Li Xiaotian said in a charming manner. Every word seemed to have magic, drilling into Tang Zheng's ears and igniting the flames in his heart. Tang Zheng subconsciously looked at her body, and her curvaceous body made his heartbeat uncontrollably quicken by a bit. He quickly guarded his mind and pointed at her body, dispelling the body-locking technique. Li Xiaotian regained her freedom, but she was not in a hurry to find clothes to cover her body. Instead, she was still bare-chested and looked at him with a smile. Her gaze moved around his lower body a few times. She covered her mouth and chuckled, "Are you really not going to do anything? If you miss this time, there won't be such a good opportunity next time." Tang Zheng snorted and said, "Next time when you go to the island nation's imperial palace, can you take me with you? If it was someone else, I wouldn't agree even if you beat me to death. But you, it's a different story. I am going to the imperial palace tomorrow. You can come with me." Okay. Tang Zheng promised. As the saying goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Although he couldn't judge the truth of Li Xiaotian's words, this was the only way. Otherwise, if he stayed at a dead end without making any progress, it would delay the important matters. "Aren't you afraid that I will sell you?" Li Xiaotian asked with a smile. "If you want to sell me, you won't be able to get any benefits. Don't worry, even if I sell you, I won't sell you to an island nation person." Creak. The door was pushed open and a gust of cold wind blew in. A figure suddenly flashed past the screen and arrived at the side of the pool. "Who is it?" Li Xiaotian shouted. Her face was as cold as frost, revealing her killing intent. At the same time, she turned around, bringing with her a sky full of water droplets, and rushed to the clothes rack at the side. With a grab, a towel wrapped around her graceful body. Marshall looked at this scene in disbelief. She had been looking for Li Xiaotian and finally came to the front of the house. Hearing someone talking inside, it seemed to be Tang Zheng's voice, so she rushed in without hesitation. But she never thought that she would see such an erotic scene. Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian stood naked in the pool. Tang Zheng's clothes were completely wet, causing people to have too many thoughts. How unsightly was the scene from before? She could almost picture it without thinking. Anger. Anger rushed from the bottom of her heart to the top of her head. Her face turned ashen as she flew into a rage, shameless. Whiz. She rushed towards Li Xiaotian in a flash. With a wave of her hand, the roaring flame saber's scorching waves of qi continued to surge towards Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian did not retreat but instead went forward to meet her. Immediately, the two beautiful figures moved and dodged. They fought happily, but it was pleasing to the eye. Tang Zheng, the bystander, took advantage of it. Seeing the flying figures and the occasional spring scenery was even more stimulating than seeing the naked body just now, causing people to almost have a nosebleed. "Marshall, are you crazy? What are you doing?" Li Xiaotian asked. The two of them could be considered old acquaintances. Now that they had met and directly fought, Li Xiaotian had not expected it. "Shameless woman, I'm going to kill you." In the past, Marshall and Li Xiaotian's cultivation were on par, but ever since Marshall had an intimate relationship with Tang Zheng, his cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds. Now that he had cultivated the martial arts of the Langya Pavilion, it was like adding wings to a tiger, and had already increased his cultivation to the 5th grade of the pre-celestial stage. Li Xiaotian had not been idle during this period of time. He had worked hard to train and had already reached the 3rd grade of the pre-celestial stage. However, compared to Marshall, there was still a large gap. The more Li Xiaotian fought, the more uncertain he became. He could not help but glance at Tang Jing from the corner of his eyes, and pondered, could it be that Marshall's cultivation had improved so quickly in such a short period of time? After interacting with Tang Jing for so long, he knew very well that he was a miracle creator. Not only him, even the people around him would benefit greatly. With Marshall's normal cultivation speed, it should be similar to Li Xiaotian's. Now that his cultivation had increased greatly, it was definitely related to Tang Jing. Immediately, she could not help but feel jealous of Marshall. If she had stayed by Tang Jing's side, perhaps the one whose cultivation had increased greatly would be her. Seeing that Marshall was going crazy and attacking fiercely, Li Xiaotian was exhausted and did not dare to face the enemy head-on. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of Tang Jing, who was like a block of wood, and immediately dodged behind him. Marshall's attack suddenly stopped, and he said angrily, "Get out of the way." Tang Jing did not know why Marshall's anger was so fierce, and advised, "Calm down." You actually spoke up for her." This, Li Xiaotian rolled his eyes, suddenly came to a realization, and chuckled, "Ha, so that's how it is." "Marshall, didn't you always love martial arts? Why are you so moved by a man now? Seeing me like this with her, you must be jealous and angry, right?" A trace of panic and redness flashed across Wu's face as he reprimanded, "Nonsense. I'm a woman. Can you still deceive my eyes? Looks like you've really fallen in love with Tang Jing. A person from the martial sect falling in love with a cultivator, this is truly an interesting thing." "Oh, that's not right, you're no longer a person from the martial sect, so it's understandable for you to like him," Li Xiaotian said to himself, completely ignoring the growing anger in Wu's eyes. Hearing that, Tang Jing subconsciously looked towards Wu. Coincidentally, Wu also looked at him, and when their eyes met, she hurriedly shifted her gaze away unnaturally. Tang Jing was not an idiot, his heart moved. Could it be that Wu really has fallen in love with him? "Tang Jing, you really have a lot of luck with women, you have so many female friends by your side, even a great beauty like Wu has fallen in love with you. I admire you, congratulations," Li Xiaotian said with a smile that was not a smile. "Shut up," Wu De roared. In fact, she herself could not clearly explain her inner thoughts. Her relationship with Tang Jing was too complicated. First, they had a physical relationship, and more than once at that. That feeling made her feel both embarrassed and nostalgic. This was a secret that could not be revealed to outsiders, and it had always been fermenting in the depths of her heart. Especially when she promised Tang Jing that if he accompanied her to find her master and mistress, then she would follow him wholeheartedly. This was like a form of self-hypnosis. When this promise was made, the perseverance in her heart began to waver, and she unconsciously leaned towards Tang Jing. When she saw the scene between Tang Jing and Li Xiaotian just now, a sour taste welled up in her heart, and she couldn't help but explode. All of this, even she herself did not notice anything strange. It was only when Li Xiaotian pierced through her thoughts that she realized what she was thinking in a panic. "The more angry you are, the more it shows that you are guilty. The more accurate my guess is." Li Xiaotian laughed calmly. Seeing that Wu was like an angry lioness, Tang Jing immediately advised, "Remember our purpose for coming here, stop messing around." Wu was slightly startled. He immediately remembered the safety of his master and mistress. His expression instantly changed, and he asked, "Li Xiaotian, you colluded with the island nation's royal family. What exactly did you do to my master and mistress?" When he said that, Tang Jing cursed in his heart. Just now, he had purposely concealed this matter because he did not want Li Xiaotian to know. This woman's thoughts were too complicated. The more he knew, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. Chapter 661. Now that things had come to this, it was already a foregone conclusion. It was impossible for Tang Jing to hide it. Sure enough, the smile in Li Xiaotian's sparkling eyes became more and more intense as he said, "So that's how it is. I was wondering why you guys would travel so far and cross the ocean to Island Nation. So it turns out that Wu Junshan and his wife have both gone missing. Ha, this is big news." Marshall was slightly startled as he looked at her suspiciously. Could it be that she did not know about this matter? She turned her head to look at Tang Jing. Tang Jing faintly sighed and explained, "She came to Island Nation for another matter." Marshall said in disbelief, "How could that be? Didn't she go to the Imperial Palace? Isn't it just colluding with the Island Nation's royal family and harming master and mistress?" "Marshall, you guessed wrong. I don't even know where your master and the others are, so how could I harm him? Moreover, he is a martial artist of the great master realm. What ability do I have to harm him?" Li Xiaotian asked with a smile. Marshall coldly snorted and said, "Of course you are not master's match by yourself. You are full of tricks, and Grandma Li is vicious and merciless. If you join forces with the Island Nation's royal family, it might not be impossible for you to do this. In short, I won't believe your words." Li Xiaotian spread out his hands and said helplessly, "If you don't tell me the details, I can't do anything about it. Tang Jing, I've already told you the truth. It's up to you to believe it or not." Tang Zhang's expression kept changing. Marshall and Li Xiaotian both looked at him at the same time. After a while, Tang Jing gritted his teeth and said, "Whether I believe you or not, the most important thing right now is that I must go with you to the Imperial Palace. I've already promised you, so of course there's no problem." Li Xiaotian smiled charmingly and agreed. Hearing this, Marshall quickly asked, "You guys are going to the Imperial Palace?" "The Imperial Palace is heavily guarded, so she can enter and leave freely. In order to hide her identity, she must sneak in to find out more information," Tang Jing explained. Marshall took a deep look at Li Xiaotian. The smile on her face did not disappear, making it hard to figure out. But for his master and mistress, he could only compromise temporarily in order to sneak into the Imperial Palace. "I'll go with you," Marshall said. Tang Jing was about to nod his head, but Li was the first time and refused. "That won't do, the Imperial Palace is heavily guarded. I was the only one was I allowed to enter. You guys must have seen the people by my side. They are the people of the Imperial Palace is to protect me, but they are to guard is to monitor me. I will be in the Imperial Palace is the Imperial Palace is Imperial Palace. Are you trying to trick me?" Wu immediately said. Li Xiaotian did not mind and said, "I know you won't believe me. As for whether it is a trick or not, that will be up to you guys to decide. In any case, I can only bring one person in. You guys can discuss among yourselves." Tang Jing did not expect such a result and asked, "Is there really no other way?" Li Xiaotian firmly shook his head. The two of them looked at each other, both of them wanting to enter the Imperial Palace and investigate. But what would happen after entering, what kind of danger they would encounter, they were unable to predict. "Marshall, wait for me outside, I will go in." Tang Jing thought for a while and made a decision. How could he let Marshall do the work of entering the tiger's den? His cultivation was higher, so even if he encountered danger, he would have the power to protect himself or even escape. Marshall Zhuozhuo looked at Tang Jing, and finally nodded after a long time. She had also guessed Tang Jing's thoughts, and this was the best choice. But she was still not reconciled. Hatefully glaring at Li Xiaotian, she said, "You have ulterior motives, you want to separate us and defeat us one by one. Don't be an idiot, we won't give in that easily." Li Xiaotian laughed and said, "Whether or not I have ulterior motives, you will know the answer tomorrow. Then we will take our leave, I will come find you tomorrow morning." Tang Jing prepared to leave. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? We haven't talked enough, the two of you are busy people, this kind of long talk is rare. Forget it. Tang Jing waved his hand. Li Xiaotian said disappointedly, all right then, I will wait for you at the villa tomorrow morning. Tang Zhang and Marshall quietly left the villa. I don't believe her. In the night, Marshall said resolutely. Why? The Marshall Organization and the Li Palace are both mysterious organizations in the world. It is precisely because we understand each other that I will not believe her. The people of the Li Palace have always been meticulous and cunning, deceiving people is a common occurrence, and they are the best at playing people in the palm of their hands. Li Xiaotian is the holy maiden of the Li Palace, and is even more proficient in this field, she is an expert. Marshall analyzed. Tang Jing seemed to be deep in thought, he couldn't help but recall the first time he met Li Xiaotian. At that time, he and Fang Shishir were riding the train to southern Yunnan, and the two of them just happened to be next to each other. Because of her few words, Tang Jing almost suffered a great loss at the hands of the cold-faced killer and the police. That scene was still fresh in his mind. Wasn't this just playing with people in the palm of their hands? Later on, the two of them experienced many trials and tribulations, but in the end, there was still a huge gap between them, and they did not trust each other very much. Especially after knowing the secret of the Buzhou mountain, Li Xiaotian even had the intention to kill Tang Jing, and together with the 12 Palace's assassins tried to assassinate him in the capital. If not for Yi Dingdang risking her life to save him, he was afraid that he would have already met with misfortune. Therefore, the two of them were actually mortal enemies, and to the words of the enemy, one must indeed selectively believe. Tomorrow I will go to the Imperial Palace, you stay outside to provide support. If you find anything wrong, immediately leave the island nation. Tang Jing solemnly instructed. No. Marshall stubbornly raised his neck, you are alone in the tiger's den, how can I stay out of it? If I find that you are in danger, I will definitely not hesitate to rush in to save you. Tang Jing shook his head and advised, if I can't escape, then you are walking into a trap. This is an unnecessary sacrifice. I am willing. Marshall blurted out. Tang Jing was stunned, and Marshall also immediately realized what she had said, and hurriedly lowered her head. She was about the same height as Tang Jing, so even if she lowered her head, her expression was clearly seen by Tang Jing, and the bashfulness on her face was completely revealed. Tang Jing shook his head, and it was rare to see such an expression on her face. Although it was only a hint of bashfulness, it was even more attractive than Li Xiaotian's naked body. A warm current flowed through Tang Jing's heart, and he could not help but hold Marshall's hand. Marshall's body slightly stiffened, but she did not struggle. She had already promised to be Tang Jing's person, so she would not resist his actions. Be good, be obedient, with me here, everything will be fine. Believe me, they can't kill me, so if you find out that something is wrong, you must immediately leave. I will come find you in the future, remember. Tang Jing's voice suddenly became very gentle, he had never used such a tone to speak to Marshall before. For a moment, Marshall stood in place, not knowing what to do as he nodded his head. This gentleness hit her hard in the heart. She had never thought that she would enjoy this kind of gentleness, no different from an ordinary little girl. A single sentence caused her to panic, and she subconsciously agreed to Tang Jing. As the sky turned white, Tang Jing arrived outside the villa alone under Marshall's gaze. The villa in the morning was exceptionally quiet, as if he had just woken up from his sleep. Hello, are you Miss Li's friend? A person walked over and asked. Tang Jing nodded. This way, please. Miss Li has been waiting for a long time. After walking through a bluestone path, Tang Jing was brought to a garden. The ground was covered with a thin layer of cherry blossom petals. In the garden, cherry blossoms were the most beautiful, and they were exceptionally beautiful. Cherry blossoms were the national flowers of the island nation. Ever since he entered the island nation, Tang Zheng had seen a lot of them, but the cherry blossoms in this garden were still as beautiful as ever. Li Xiaotian stood under the cherry blossom tree. The petals drifted down and landed on her head and shoulders like decorations, weakening her cold aura and adding a sense of tranquility and beauty. Hearing the sound of footsteps, Li Xiaotian turned around, smiled at Tang Zheng, and said, "You're here." Tang Zheng nodded his head without batting an eyelid. "Miss Li, can we set off now?" the attendant asked respectfully. "Let's go." The attendant led the way in front, while Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian were a few steps behind. Li Xiaotian asked in a low voice, "Did you sleep well last night?" "Not bad." With a beauty accompanying you, it must be a great enjoyment in life." Li Xiaotian intentionally or unintentionally glanced at Tang Zheng's lower body and said. This extremely invasive gaze made Tang Zheng slightly embarrassed. He simply remained silent and did not say a word. Li Xiaotian seemed to have seen through his thoughts and changed the topic. "Your identity to the outside world is my fellow disciple. You specialize in the art of apricot woods, especially in the area of difficult and complicated diseases. Perhaps the other side will let you personally examine him. You are the master of the king of medicine, so this shouldn't be a problem for you, right? Don't you have a way to save him? What else do you need me to examine?" Tang Zheng asked back. Li Xiaotian smiled but did not say a word. Seeing that she was pretending to be mysterious, Tang Zheng did not ask any more questions. "In any case, whatever I tell you to do, just do it. You deliberately wanted to sneak into the imperial palace, so you must suspect that the disappearance of Wu Junshan and the others is related to the island nation's imperial family. When the time comes, I will help you indirectly investigate." However, a few days ago, the island nation's warship sank. The entire country was greatly shaken by this matter, especially the imperial family, so in a moment, don't do anything too out of line and cause more trouble. Li Xiaotian warned. Tang Zheng did not comment. Island nation is really unlucky. In the sea, the warship also sank. As for what exactly happened, outsiders have no way of knowing. It is said that at that time, everyone was buried in the sea. Moreover, the investigation of the warship is highly confidential. The Li Palace does not have the ability to gather information from overseas, so they still do not know what exactly happened. Li Xiaotian said to himself. They have done too many bad things. Perhaps this is their punishment. Tang Zheng said vaguely. To make a warship sink without a sound is not something an ordinary person can do. Moreover, there has been no military activity in that area of the sea recently. The neighboring countries have all firmly denied that they have anything to do with the sinking of the ship, so this matter is becoming more and more confusing. Li Xiaotian said as his brows furrowed. It was clear that he was also interested in this matter. Tang Zheng lowered his head and pretended that he did not hear anything. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.